through the final 2 corners now in his Audi. Let's see if he can improve from his previous lap time and try and move up the order. He's 1.3 off pole, but he looks very, very smooth and steady through the final sector. Does he move up? No, he doesn't. So this may be the lap. That might be an out lap, and now he's pushing on, but nice and clean through the first corner and hitting that sausage curb on the apex quite nicely there as he runs down to turn 3. We've also got, I believe this is winter as well, so we've got in the BMW just coming through turn 2 and out of turn 3, so down the long straight these cars will be getting up to around 160, 165 miles an hour before stamping on the brakes, going from 6th to 1st before that very tight hairpin, where we've seen a lot of action over the years in all sorts of forms of motor racing, including Formula 1 and the DTM, of course.
So what do you think about this hairpin? Obviously, I think this is probably the crux of the race course. If you nail this hairpin, you're gonna score a good lap. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's vital to try and maximise your time going around this course. Obviously, well, minimise in fact, but going especially on the braking on these cars. If you really, I did some practice earlier on in these cars, and if you absolutely nail the brake, you have to get down the gears so quickly, and actually there's a lot of engine braking that helps slow the car down, but if you get it a bit too late, the car just seems to sail on by, and instead of missing a few metres you end up missing about 15, and it can really cost you time. So it's vital to get your braking zones absolutely spot on in this phase of qualifying especially.
Yeah, so as we've just seen Winter pass corner 10, and that is also another important corner. But what I've seen is that it's all about conserving your speed into that corner and onto the long straight just before Mobile 1. You need patience on that corner, but it's all about conserving maximum speed and therefore getting a faster time on that straight, which can really help you, and you'll be able to take advantage and maybe overtake someone on that straight, provided that you do that corner correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's all going to be about trying to get the momentum and the power down out the corners. And there was a lot of discussion before this event about what traction control systems people are using. In real DTM, they don't actually use traction control at all. And speaking of which, that's I think the car in 7th place, I think that was Winters just lighting the tyres up then as he came out of the hairpin. Oh, in fact, that was French, in fact. So French has gone up in 2nd. So we've got Good Scott on a 33.5 now, so he's bettered his time. But then we've got French in 2nd place with Ben Brown in 3rd and Jack Ashton down into 4th on a 134.1. Then we've got Jessups, Aravam, Winters, Bittencourt, Vlar, Talbot, Glodek and Tizen rounding out the top 12 as we've into the final few seconds of this qualifying session. We're watching French just in the last sector trying to get a few more tenths just to see if he can get pole from Matt Goodger-Scott. It's going to be a tall order because that is a blistering time, 4 tenths quicker than anybody else, so 1:33.3. As you can see that on the right-hand side of your screen, as French actually pits, so he's decided that lap just simply isn't good enough. So it looks like Matt Goodger-Scott then is going to be on pole, and look how close it is for 2nd and 3rd as well. It's only a couple of milliseconds between French and Brown, so that's going to be a really interesting battle to watch. And actually, Jessup and Ashton, as Brown actually goes 3rd. Jessup and Ashton have identical lap times in 5th and 6th, but Ashton unfortunately has been the one that has to take the latter spot. As Matt Goodger-Scott then, he's still on a lap, but I think it's looking good for him at the moment for the Camsport driver, and we might see a first win for the Camsport team in general. So that'll be very interesting to watch. We've got the BMW going quite slowly. They were watching, I think this is Bittencourt, who's 8th at the moment and still on a lap. So we'll see, even though we've got a yellow in Sector 2, down at the hairpin I saw just flashing in the background. We've got Bittencourt. It's very easy to recognise him because it's got his name widely on the back of the cars. You'll see coming out of turn 7.
As we can see and as we expected, it's been a very tight field. In fact, there's just 3 seconds between the first time and the last time in this in this scenario. It'll be very interesting to see how the next 12 do and how they shape up against the top competition, because I believe this is a very tall order for them to come into, and that we should be seeing quite a lot of people within this first group, within this first qualifier, progressing towards the A final.
Absolutely, as we're just watching Bittencourt running slightly wide there onto that sausage curb that cost him quite a bit of time. exiting the final corner now, and does he go fastest? No, he doesn't, so he stays 8th for the moment then, and then we've got Glodek, Vla and Ben Brown then still on a lap it seems at the moment, but doesn't seem like they're going to go any faster. Everybody's into, well, the top 5 at least are into the 133s, and we're just seeing who's this. This is Tizen, who's just crossed the line then in 12th place, so he didn't manage to go any quicker, and we'll start from, unfortunately, the back of the grid. And then there is Shamak Glodek in that Mercedes C-Class then, seeing if he can try and put on another lap, but I think the timing's gone out now, so everybody returns to the pit lane. And that concludes our first qualifying session here at Simply Race. We'll be back very shortly for the second qualifying session. Let's see if anybody can go faster than Matt Goodger-Scott, because he looks like the man to beat at the moment. Okay then, so we're back and live with our very tall pole sitter, Matt Goodger-Scott. I'll try and get you up there. But obviously a great qualifying from you. What, 33.4 was it? I think something. Yeah, so really fast lap time from you. Was it all played in or no?
I did a first run as a practice, and then the kind of when you got new tyres, second run. My first flyer, I was rough in the first sector, and my kind of second run, I rally crossed the last corner, if I'm honest. So I'm glad it's still allowed, but I doubt I gained time out there. So it's feasible. How the other group do though, because top 7 of them could beat me. So we'll see.
I'll take it back. I should have 2 microphones really, shouldn't I? Because it changes. Yeah, I think the pressure changes up there. But yeah, so fantastic. Well, it's a fantastic lap from you, obviously, and you kind of controlled that session the whole way through. So we'll talk now to our second place man, Jack Ashton. Thank you very much, Matt Goodger-Scott. And I don't have to put my hand out as long for you, Jack. Obviously, second on the last lap for you, wasn't it? So impressive qualifying.
Yeah. Scary qualifying, not really done any practice and then jumped straight into it. Couldn't get on with practice session earlier, but I sort of learnt a bit enough to sort of know what I was doing in the quali. Did okay lap, and then I didn't realise you could change tyres. And could see everyone changing tyres. I thought, I've got to do it now. Did one out lap and then I only had one flyer, and I managed to pop it in the last lap, and I don't know, I got second apparently, so there we go, happy with that.
I didn't even, to be fair, I didn't even see you get second. I thought you were fourth on the road, but obviously you bumped up some. So potentially, a good start for you. Obviously, we still got the other guys to run, so we don't know how they're going to do yet. But obviously, you've done a lot of sim racing here at Simply Race, so I'm expecting big things.
Thanks. No, we might have all these 7 people in the next session go quicker than all of us in this one, so not necessarily in the A. We'll see.
Absolutely. So, and then third place finally, who I thought was second, but now was third. Jack did it on the last lap. So, Frenchie, how did you get on out there?
I got third. 135s or so. So to get 133, I was quite shocked to get that. But yeah, pitted for tyres on the last lap. I think I could have got another lap in. Might have pushed up a little bit further, but oh well, that's how it works. But.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking forward to the race. Obviously, you're going to be up there, providing that none of these, well, not all of them go faster. You're pretty much guaranteed into that top session. So, how are you going to play it? Are you going to go aggressive at the start, or do you think you're going to be quite conservative and see how everybody else is?
I think I'm going to play it fairly conservative at the start, just because you see people like try and win the race in the first corner. We've got 55-minute race, so there's a lot. It's a long old race. There's no point trying to bin it in the first corner, trying to send it. No, I'll just play it conservative, keep it on track, and then just work our way up. Yeah.
Awesome. So no sending from Frenchie then, but we might see it from some of the other drivers. Obviously, we've got our second qualifying session just coming up, so we'll join you back in the commentary box very, very soon. Okay then, hello and welcome back to our second qualifying session of this afternoon of the DTM series live here at Simply Race. And this is the second session, as I've just mentioned, so your car's just heading out onto track now for their 10-minute qualifying session. In this session we've got a mix of drivers along with a mix of driving skill, obviously. So we can see the HJM racing car, I believe that is, of Francis Harold. Just heading out, warming up his tyres in that Mercedes C-Class. I do love them things, it looks absolutely fantastic. Obviously these cars are on track on their own as well as the first session, so no one can complain of somebody getting held up by somebody else because they're on track all by themselves. So as we watch the very green Cam Sports Audi of Sean King just coming through the stadium section now, hard onto the brakes, spit of flame out the side of that car as he comes through the very tight and twisty section in Sector 2 before heading into the even larger, well, near to the drag strip where we saw such drama and controversy in the Formula 1 this year. Luckily it's not raining for these guys today, so as he comes down through the second stadium section, a lovely grandstand greets you with a lot of crowds through the hairpin, and then accelerating out into the final couple of corners to start his first qualifying lap. We'll start to see times being popped in around about 1.5 minutes time. So as we follow Sean King then onto his lap, we can watch how the Audi gets on through the first couple of corners, as he'll be on the brakes into turn 1, fourth gear, chucking it in as quickly as he can, and a bit of smoke coming from that car as he goes through turn 1. The amount of regression he put into that corner is very committed on the way in, and then hard on the brakes into turn 2. The car dips and he chucks it into the corner, squares it up nicely, and then accelerates out, trying to get the best run onto the straight. And then he's hard on the power all the way down here, going up all the way through the gears, up to 6th gear, 165 miles an hour, before hitting the brakes into the hairpin, where he'll have to go down all those gears once again back into first. So we can see him coming into the braking zone now, hard on the brakes as the car gets stopped, turning in, nicely done, meets the apex and then starts to power out again. That was nicely done there by Sean King, and he'll be accelerating all the way down into Sector 2. Obviously we had Sean commenting on the Simply Race Formula Series that we had on earlier this morning, so thanks to Sean for covering that for us. He did a fantastic job. And well, he didn't do a fantastic job of that corner, locking up through. I had to give him a tiny bit of praise, but not too much, as he went through the stadium section then, and that would have cost him around about half a second or so as he throws it in. Now he's being super aggressive, and we can see that he's now hanging it around this very tight corner, using quite a bit of lock as he goes through the banked left-hander, and you can see his little virtual hands inside the cockpit working away then as he comes through the final couple of corners. Could have gone a tiny bit wider perhaps going through that one and missed the apex, but then accelerating out towards the start-finish line. We've got Bennett putting in a time first of all, and then Sean King a 1:33.9, so a fantastic lap from him.
Yeah, so we've seen that we're already scoring 133.6s, so we're right up there, competitive with with qualifying 1. So it's good to see that we're going to have a highly competitive Group A final, so please stay tuned for that. And of course, like we said, the grid is as close as it was in the previous qualifier, so I'm sure that that both qualifiers are going to be action-packed and full of excitement.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're expecting 2 very action-packed races coming up with the quality of times that have been setting in. So it's Harold that actually now leads the way, with Kelly second, who you can see on your screen at the moment in that very black, almost Batmobile-esque Cam Sport Mercedes C-Class. And as he breaks down into turn 2, I'm sure we'll see Kelly try and snatch that pole position away. It's only 50 milliseconds away for him from Francis Harold, who put it on pole. So a really impressive lap time from both the top 2, all within half a tenth of each other. And then we're seeing the Audi come through now. Who's this? Just coming around its 4th place, so it's Bennett. And, very, very wide indeed. And we've got some support on the stream as well, so looking forward to watching the Birmingham Missile LB taking to the track. Good luck, everybody. That's from JR Sim Racing and Go Luke as well. So thanks for their support on the YouTube feed. Obviously, we'll see more of them, I'm sure, throughout the course of the event. So get involved on the YouTube feed and give us some comments and feedback as well. As always, it would be great to have you guys joining us on the stream. We can see the very bright Mercedes running in 3rd place, and so that's John Curry. In fact, I believe in that Mercedes going very, very well in third place with a 1:33.8. So a very, very close time that will surely see him in the top group A for the later race on today.
So it's good to see that that JR Racing is giving the support of to Bennett, as he's doing very well in fourth place with a 1:33.8. Now that is an extremely competitive time, almost right up there with Scott and and right in the top of the previous qualifiers as well. We've actually got Bennett now on screen, just going in.
That's Harold actually.
Wait, it's changed now.
Yeah, so just watching Harold then going down towards the hairpin and squaring it up quite nicely. So he's on pole at the moment by only half a tenth or so. We got Rogers actually off the circuit as well, just at the hairpin there. So going over the sausage curb, we just saw that on a different screen, so we may be able to get a replay of that for you. And all he did was, I think, just get on the power a tiny bit too early coming out of the hairpin and ended up swapping ends with the car. And it's very, very easy to do in these highly powered DTM cars. And they're packing around 550 horsepower or so. So we're just going to get a replay of that then on your screen so you can see hard into the barriers there. We might have to rewind it slightly just because we went a bit too early. But yeah, just understeering in, brake too late, and unfortunately hard into the barriers. Luckily, we don't have damage on, so he'll be able to continue and running in 10th place at the moment. So not horrendous, but still quite a bit of time to find at the moment.
So he's going to have to give up that lap and try again next lap. But that right there just shows the dangers of taking the hairpin wrong. Not only can you lose a lot of time in the best case scenario, but you could also just crash straight into the side if you take that corner too fast. And drivers really need to be careful. And I'm sure they put in lots of hard hours of practice in order to ensure that they make that corner correctly. Yeah,
absolutely. So we've got some more, I believe, Cam Sport support from Emily Wilson on the YouTube feed. So it's great to have Emily joining us as well back at home. I think it may be Chris Wilson's partner, I believe. I apologise if I got it wrong, but I believe so. It's still Harold that leads then for the moment, with Kelly just 50 milliseconds behind him. So it's really, really close between the top two cars in this session. Then just behind them, we've got another 10 milliseconds between Curry and Bennett, and then Sean King just after that in fifth place, only 3/10 away. So the top three here covered by less than 4/10 of a second. So it's extremely, extremely competitive in the midway part. Well, I say the midway part, we've only got 2 minutes left of this qualifying session, so it's gone very quickly. And soon we'll be getting into our first B race of the day. We can see Kelly on screen at the moment, then coming down towards the hairpin, hard on the brakes. You can see the car dive and spit a flame out the exhaust as he goes down the gears, hooks the curb up nicely and then accelerates out again, inch perfect, close to that sausage curb just on the exit. So we'll see if he can better this lap and potentially get on pole for the A race that's going to be happening a bit later on today. We've got a few other cars working as well. So we've got Sean King on a lap as well. He did go slightly wide going out that corner, but he's gone second. So Sean King then with a fantastic lap time there, 33.2, but Harold's gone even faster with a 32.6. A 32.6, that's a crazy time, isn't it? It's absolutely crazy. So really impressive from Harold. You can see on his screen right now, and I doubt anybody's going to top that, to be honest. That's 6/10 clear of anybody else, including Sean King and Christian Kelly. So, yeah, very impressive indeed. Sean Curry. He's not going to like that one. So Curry then it was John, isn't it? John Curry. Sorry, I had a complete mind blank there. So Sean Curry, I called him again. John Curry in fourth place. And he was looking really, really strong in practice earlier, so I'm surprised to see him in fourth, to be fair. Obviously, he's not that far down, but I was just expecting him to be absolutely up there. Emily Wilson saying, unfortunately, someone has to be such a good track, such a great choice for it. Absolutely, I completely agree. And we saw a fantastic race here, actually, in the real DTM at Hockenheim this year as well. So hopefully we can replicate that in this first round of the DTM season here at Simply Race.
So what's really good is that that time from Howard has actually propelled him straight into pole position for the Group A finals. So I'm sure he's going to be very excited to that. And we'll be having an interview with him shortly where he can discuss his feelings about that insane lap. That lap is almost a second on the previous best. and which is a huge improvement coming into qualifiers, where we expect the times to increase over the course of the finals as drivers get more consistent and have a little more time to really get into the track and really learn its in and outs and build up some consistency there.
Absolutely. We've got a few drivers now finishing their session, in fact. So the session is counted down to 0. So we've got Chris Wilson then, who's finished in 6th place. So he's going to be right on the cusp of potentially making he'll be potentially at the top of the B final if he does get into the B final. But as long as the top 7, I believe, will progress into the A final. So they'll have a lot of racing this afternoon. They'll pretty much have two hours of racing, including their, not including their practice and qualifying as well. So getting good value for money are those who competing in the B final and then progress up into the A final. We've also got Christian Kelly. He's only 5th. I was expecting quite a bit higher from Kelly. As we see the Audi going wide and he's going to go into the barriers. This is Bennett, and really unfortunate for Bennett there, but just taking a tiny bit too much of what he can chew, and unfortunately ended up in the barriers. I still think he's going to happily progress through because he's only 2/10 off Harold in the end, so did put out a monster lap. But Harold coming round, and I think he's pretty cert for a pole now anyway, as he comes around the last couple of corners. I don't know if he's already backed off or anything, but he didn't look as fast as that. But there we go, into the pit lane. So we've got Harold then looking like he's on pole with Bennett in 2nd, King in 3rd with John Curry in 4th. Christian Kelly is in 5th place with Chris Wilson in 6th, Luke Austin in 7th. We've got Watts in 8th with oh dear, I was going so well and then it happened. Trofimov potentially in 9th, and Rogers then rounding out the 10th position in that qualifying. So then as the cars just come back into the garages, then we'll be set for our first race of this afternoon and the first race ever in the DTM Simply Race series. This is a new series for Simply Race. We've never done a DTM spec race before, so this is going to be really, really interesting and hopefully a very good start for the rest of the season. So we'll be back in a few moments' time where we'll be getting the first race underway. Okay then, so welcome back. We've got our top three drivers here from qualifying. I'll speak to the... Come to me, mate. I'm not going to come over to you. So, yes, please. Same as the council drivers are really tall, but also we're going to have a mic change because why not? Third place for you in that qualifying section. Happy with that or not really?
Not particularly, because I made 2 mistakes on that lap. So yeah, I could have probably gone about the same pace as Francis, and I know that Luke's told me he's on the same sort of lap as well, so he might have even come first at one point. So there's definitely a lot more time in that, but yeah, it was all okay, I suppose. I got through to the A race, so that's what counts, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just noticed you're wearing big loafers, whereas these two have both got race on, so maybe
I just wear socks.
You just wear socks. Oh right. See, that's a bit weird. So spell your feet after a race, man. What size are you? They're like size 12 or something. That's crazy. Okay. Anyway, I could probably live in them. So obviously, second place driver Bennett. You said you could have gone faster. So what did you make, or what was the problem?
Well, I was coming through on my final fastest lap, and then coming into the right-hander into the last sector, the fourth gear right-hander. I went out a bit wide, touched the gravel trap, and that sent me sideways, and I just couldn't catch it. Well, I was 3/10 up, which would have been enough for pole.
Yeah, 3/10, especially on a monster lap like that, because you guys were a tiny bit quicker than the first group as well. So going for the race, how are you going to approach it? Are you going to go full attack? Obviously, it's a 55-minute race, so it's a long race. But how are you looking for it? Are you just going to go send it and see what happens, or are you going to be quite conservative?
I'm going to take my time. It's a long race. Anything can happen. If I get a good start and I get through, if I get through to first, I'm hoping to look after my tyres and then just hold on through to the end of the race.
Absolutely. And then obviously our pole. That was a pretty mega lap from you. Obviously, we said 32.6, I believe, or 32.6. Yeah. So pretty mega lap. Obviously, you hooked it up really well, and you've done a lot of sim racing here, as of these two as well. Clear Cup champion from this year, and but you've been doing it a long time, so you won one race, so we'll take that. But going towards this race, obviously you're probably going to be on pole for the big A race. So how are you going to approach it? You got a lot of quick guys behind you.
Yeah, same as I approach every race, really, just try and get off the line. I sometimes struggle with that, so hopefully don't mess that up this time, and then just lead from the front, hopefully. Just making sure I don't make too many mistakes, keeping them behind me, keep on top of strategy as well. It's going to be important to make sure that, when people pit, so that you can kind of counter them if you need to and everything. So it's just going to be interesting to see, how the race unfolds.
Absolutely, and also tyre wear is going to come into a factor in this race. How are you guys all managing the tyres? Is it quite severe, or is it pretty, you just go flat out and manage it as you go along? Not as bad as the Clio's, so, but the Clio's are terrible. Yeah, you get a fresh set, so it's fine.
Get away with it. You can just keep pushing, I think, pretty much. Front left does take a bit of a beating around here, especially when some of the longer duration corners, you do see the temperatures start to spike up as soon as you get halfway through the corner. So yeah, it's just about keeping them cool, but they seem to cool pretty quickly on the straight, so it's not too much of an issue for the next corner. Just keeping an eye on them, and then hope you're not sliding too much.
Absolutely. So hopefully we won't see any calamities from you guys. Obviously, you're pretty much going to be guaranteed an A final slot. So we'll be quickly joining the B final race. It's the first race of the day, but it's the B spec final. So join us back very shortly. We're just going to go for a quick break, and then we'll be back with the first race of this afternoon. Okay then, hello everybody and welcome back to our first race of this afternoon of the new Simply Race DTM series. And we've got a very exciting race coming up for you. We've got Stuart French on the pole position then for this B race, and the top 8 will go through into the A race. So it's going to be a really, really tight fight in the top half of the field. The cars are just going back into their positions at the moment, and soon we'll be getting underway for the first race of the day. I think actually Ben Brown might be promoted onto first place, as the tower says, but it's not. There's only 14 people in this one, so we may have Stuart French may have already automatically gone into the A race. But I'm joined by Mr. Jack Ashton, who is qualified on, I believe. Oh no, 6th. That's not normally where you are, to be fair, but it's a really, really intense championship, isn't it?
Intense, yeah, it's really hard. I didn't do a lot of practice. That's my good
Okay, maybe.
Hello.
There we go.
There we go. You can hear me now.
So we were just saying to Jack, obviously he's in 6th position for the start of the A race, and obviously that's not a position where we normally find you in.
Not a load of practice today, but coming into it, sort of give it my best shot in quali. Not a lot of practice. Did all right, I thought. Got P2 in my session, but a lot of people in that second session were flying. So I guess a lot of people a lot quicker in that session. Put a cat amongst pigeons, as they say. So, but I'm happy to be in the A final, see what I can do. Starting from 6th, maybe a little bit of a carnage in the first corner, but we'll see. I'm looking forward to the racing, especially with some tight competition.
Yeah, obviously you're going to be starting on the third row, so you've got quite a few cars in front of you. You can try and make places up, but also
plenty behind.
You've got a lot of guys behind you who are going to be fighting to try and get that top 5 position. So, excuse me. So. It's going to be really, really tight at the front, especially in the A race. Obviously, we've got the B race coming up very shortly. We're just waiting for the guys to get ready and get onto track. You can see just at the moment the 2 Camsport boys just chatting, and Sean King there that we had earlier on, who was top 3 in that last session and will start from P3. So he's going to be 3 cars in front of you come the start.
Yeah,
so Sean's a quick lad, but we don't normally see him as far up as that.
I mean, he's
in
been
these competitive series.
Recently been having his sim at home and doing a lot of R factor at home. I've seen him gaining a lot of pace recently, which is good to see. I like to see that. He's certainly been really fast lately, and I've noticed it. He's come on to iRacing as well, and he's done a couple of races against some of the guys that I race against with, and he's really shown them a few things as well. So I think he's one to watch, definitely, with his lap time that he did for qualifying. He's definitely right up there. He qualified P3.
P3, yeah. And then Matt Gooch-Scott, who's just on his phone on the right-hand side of the screen as well, is P4.
Which was just in front of me on the qualifying in the session I was. So, yeah, I mean, definitely some quick guys out there, and looking forward to some good racing. And I think we're going to be starting we was going to be starting our formation lap, but not anymore. They're back in the pits. So, maybe talking pit strategy. I'm not sure how to work it yet. Obviously, we're not worried about fuel, which is an easy thing for me, because that's my main bugbear with pit stop races. But no fuel stops, it's just tyre stop, and knowing when to stop is the key. Interesting.
Yeah,
what would you say?
Well, I think you definitely, because we saw in the Simple Race Formula Series earlier today, which had quite a lot of deg on it, because I know because I was racing in it, and I think the undercut will definitely work, especially on a track like this, providing that you don't get caught out in traffic. So basically, if you're following another car, how the undercut works is that if you're following a car in your similar pace, you can basically pit before they do, as long as they don't pit before you. Obviously, you're coming at the same time. You can pit maybe a lap earlier than them, get on some fresh tyres, do an insane out lap with fresh rubber, and potentially get out ahead of them because they're still beyond that used rubber from the last stint. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see if somebody uses those tactics and implies them into the race, or if it's just going to spread out a tiny bit. But I don't think that's going to happen very much.
But then the undercut could then potentially ruin their race later on with the tyres wearing too much. Being a 55-minute race, personally, I'll probably want to try and eke a good 30 minutes in before I do the pit stop, so I then have a 25-minute
and a quicker
last stint than the first. So yeah, it's going to be tricky. Obviously, I don't have a timer with me in the car, so I'm not sure what tactics to use. I might have a little.
Take your phone out.
That's what I was literally thinking.
And put it by the side.
Put a quick little
reminder.
Little stopwatch or something. Yeah.
Get a little notification.
Little notification to say pit. But yeah, I think that'll be probably what I'll use. That sort of tactic. I don't want to end up seeing people pitting and then go, oh, I better pit. I want to try and pit when I want to pit, if you know what I mean. So, because there could be a lot of tactics going around. Maybe people doing 2 pit stops, depends how much the tyres wear. I don't know. Not done enough testing to know that myself.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Anthony Jordan, who isn't here, by the way, who should be here, says, "What's your prediction on a winner?" Well, it's quite difficult to say, to be fair, because I'm expecting.
Are we talking winner of B race here, or are we talking winner overall?
Well, should we do both, as we've got a tiny bit of time? So, from what the tower suggested, it says that Ben Brown is starting on pole, and then we've got Chris Wilson and Joe Jessup in second and third. We may have Stuart French in there because we've got a cut-off point of that, but I think it's eighth downwards. I think. So it looks like Ben Brown is going to be on pole. We may see Stuart French on pole. We don't know. Just
we'll
quite
see.
yet.
Yeah,
we'll find
not
out.
100%.
But out of, I'd say, the top 4 in the B final, I think that's going to be quite interesting to watch, providing that Stuart French is in it. So we've got Stuart French, Ben Brown, Chris Wilson, Joe Jessup. I think Ben Brown, providing that he doesn't do a lot of mistakes, as sometimes he can make some mistakes, will probably end up on top. Chris Wilson is also a guy to watch because on his day he can make it fast.
I think he can be really quick. He's been doing a fair amount of endurance. I know this isn't really an endurance race, but with 55 minutes, it can take its toll on you, and you need to be hitting their marks every lap. So I think Chris Wilson definitely one to watch for. Luke Austin, surprisingly, I thought he's done quite well for minimal. He hasn't been here very much.
No.
He used to come here a long time ago, and I think he could be one to watch. If he can get a clean enough race, he might be fighting near the top. But he'll be starting down in 7th there, but possibly 6th. We still don't know yet.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is actually French who's
so
on
there we
pole,
go.
so that's correct then. So we've got Stuart French, Ben Brown, Chris Wilson, Joe Jessup, Kostas Avram, who's I believe new to any Simply Race Championship, especially the ones that I've known. So it's great to have him along for this event. Then we've got Luke Austin, who's from a long time ago, but pretty much a Simply Race veteran, and helps out a lot with his Alpha. Well, he owns Alpha Live Entertainment Production, so really nice to have him with us this afternoon. We've also got Ben Winters, who's done a lot of Simply Races here.
Yeah, I've seen his name quite a few times. Quite a good driver.
Eduardo Bittencourt as well. I believe he's done some endurance stuff, as well. So it's great to have him back in the championship. We've got Bill Watts. Now, I haven't heard of Bill Watts before, so I'm guessing he's quite new to the championships as well. And
we just have to keep our eyes on these people. If we don't know
these
them,
guys could come through.
Yeah, maybe had a bad qualifying. We might see him come through. This is definitely with a 15-car grid could end up with some good racing, I think.
Absolutely. Another mention, our good friend Shamak Glodek, who's down in lucky 13th place. And Shamak, I'm sure, is always one. If you want to have an entertainment race, go for Shamak normally on an onboard, because you'll find it. But a great driver he is, and we'll be sure to see some entertainment going through this 55-minute race. And let's see who else is there. Colin Talbot in 11th. I don't think he'll be too happy with that. So we may see him going forward, because as soon as he gets into a race, he's normally pretty consistent. He's not a one-lap man.
No, he's definitely a good, consistent rhythm person, isn't he? So with a 55-minute race, it's definitely something to keep in mind, especially looking after these tyres. I think it's going to be the main crux of this race. In qualifying, people were pitting after 2-3 laps because the tyres were going off. So in a 55-minute race, only one pit stop, it's going to be quite a hard task.
Absolutely, and it's going to be effectively like 2 sprint races in effect, isn't it? So we're going to have the first 20 to 30 minutes of guys going flat out, and then they're going to box and then probably go for some new tyres. We've got a nice white, grey and green livery just heading up the pack. That's Rogers, who's, I believe, also quite new to the Simply Race Championship scene. So great to have him along, and a few new names
faces,
as well.
Yeah, new faces.
It's fantastic to have 2 full grids of races here at Simply Race. So, and the top 8 from this one will progress into the A final. So it's going to be very interesting to see, especially at that cut-off point, who's going to be fighting it out. And as the final cars just get lined up on the grid, we'll probably go more to the front and watch what Stuart French is going to do off the line. Now, it's going to be very interesting to see if he can get his revs just right, minimise the wheel spin and get a good launch up to turn 1. It's not a very long straight into turn 1, and he's on the preferred line. So let's see how they get on. Then the revs will rise and the lights will go on the gantry, and then often we will be racing for the first time in the Simply Race DTM series. So we can hear the revs rise, and then the grid is ready to go. And we are racing for the first time in the Simply Race DTM series. Stuart French off pole gets a great launch into turn 1, and he's pretty much all on his own as he goes through, hitting the curb nicely. Is followed by Ben Brown, and Ben Brown's going to be all over the back of him as they come towards turn 2. We've got Wilson as well in third with a good clean start, so everybody through turn 1 very nicely. Ben Brown goes to the outside, try and go round the outside of turn 2. Is he going to do it? He's going to run out of road a tiny bit, but he's on the inside as we cut back to the leaders, and Stuart French goes round the outside of turn 3 and back into the lead, but now he's got a long run down to the hairpin, and Ben Brown is going to be all over the back of him into the slipstream going towards the hairpin. And let's see who's going to be last of the late breakers going down here. We've got a battle further back for third, fourth place as well, so that's one to watch. But Stuart French covering that inside line. And there's contact from Ben Brown. He gets spun round at the hairpin. He just went a bit too deep, and Wilson, unfortunately, going up the inside there, he just managed to tangle, and everybody seems to go and use all of that paint and a bit more road as they come out of the hairpin. But it's French who's now got a massive lead ahead of Wilson and Jessup, and then there's a fantastic squabble for fourth place as they go down into the stadium section and just managed to get away with it. It was actually for fifth place. We got Bittencourt in the middle with Luke Austin up there. He's made a good start, and then Ben Winters as well. So as they go down towards the second stadium section, then there's a BMW going to try and make a move up the inside of Bittencourt. No, he hangs back for the moment, but they're still pretty much side by side as they come into the left-hander, and Bittencourt just gets ahead of the BMW there. But great racing all round, and that was Winters in that BMW for anybody that just missed that out. And Shamak Glodek up to 9th as well from 13th on the grid, so he's made up 4 positions. And Ben Brown from 2nd to 13th on the grid. He's going to have a lot of work now to even try and just bump his way back up into the A final cut-off, which is going to be 8th place. But quite a clean start all round, apart from obviously that contact at the hairpin. But that was just that was unfortunate, wasn't it? Really unfortunate, Jack.
Yeah, I mean, Ben Brown obviously went to get the big slingshot out of the hairpin, just didn't think that Chris would be there.
The thing is, he left the door wide open.
It was massively wide open
on lap 1, and you just don't do that
tricky,
normally.
Yeah, I mean, Chris didn't really do anything wrong. That's a normal racing line, realistically. It was just misjudged by how the distance Chris Wilson was behind Ben. So now we're back onto the battle with Avram and Luke Austin behind in the Audi.
Yeah, so these guys have all moved up pretty much 1 or 2 positions. Bittencourt moved up 2 positions, as well as everybody up to 2nd place, thanks to Ben Brown losing and going down to 13th place. So great to see Avram making up some ground then in his very grey Mercedes as they come through the end of Sector 2 into this very, very tight entrance to Sector 3, where it looks quite tight, but actually it's very, very open. Especially in real life, this corner is very, very fast indeed. And then braking, where you've got all the big crowds in the stadium section going around this left-hand corner, where we've seen much drama over the years and all sorts of different types of motor racing. And then into the final, probably the trickiest section of the circuit, I think, just trying to get it right. And there was a big slip up there from Jessup, who's in that blue BMW at the front of this train. He got very sideways, did well to correct it, but now comes Luke Austin trying to make the move. That was a great run that he got out of the final corner. Is he going to go into turn 1? They're going to be side by side. He pretty much skips all the curl, but on the inside, just to make sure they didn't make contact, because it was pretty certain they were there.
Yeah.
So even though track limits weren't avoided, but Luke Austin's going for it again. Good dive down the inside into turn 3 and manages to hold Avram up. So actually gets back past him there. So I think Luke just let off the throttle a tiny bit, or maybe got some wheel spin. But it's all kicking off in the mid pack, and Bittencourt now up 3 positions up into the top 5.
he'll be happy with that. Yeah, so obviously we're seeing French really pulling a nice gap there, 4.3 seconds and climbing. Wilson's keeping that steady gap to Jessup.
There's a tiny bit more contact. They just get away with it. Luke Austin did well to get back out there, but sorry to interrupt you, Jack. Aaron just doing exactly the same as what Ben Brown did, trying to get it stopped right just before the turning point so he could get a good get on power nice and early and get a good exit, but it just isn't going to work out, especially when cars are so close together. Great racing from these two and great awareness from Luke Austin. He's doing some absolutely mega awareness kind of things to make sure he doesn't make contact with anybody, because he's been so close to many cars this lap and has not made any contact so far. So really well done to Luke for just being sensible and making sure he didn't make contact and turn in on that was Winter, I believe. So Ben Winter.
55-minute race here. Everyone's driving like it is a 5-minute race, but it is entertaining. Let's not beat around the bush.
We haven't seen too much contact at all. Obviously, we saw Ben currently in 11th, trying to make his way back up the order as well. So I wonder what happened. So Wilson's had a stop go for that. Oh, I don't know if I agree with that, to be fair. But there we go. We're not the race directors, Jack. So we're not making the
correct
camera
angle.
Maybe we're not right. But anyway, it was a tough decision to make. Obviously, he could have potentially gone deep as well and try and avoid that contact. But quite unfortunate for Wilson. But that does mean he's now behind Ben Brown again, which he was. So I suppose it's only fair. But those two, I'm sure, are going to provide, as some of the quickest drivers in this field, some great overtaking moves now.
They'll be wanting to get into that top 8 because that is their goal, to make it through to the A final and have a good race. Obviously, we're seeing now Glodek and Talbot moving up because of that. It's quite nice to see them right up there from their bad qualifying they had. So good to see them. Here's Colin watching now in the red Audi. And I think that is Ben Brown behind him, so he's going to be probably getting past him quite soon in the nice-looking green Mercedes, is that? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And where Colin is now at the moment, he's just on the cut-off point for making it into the A race, the last race of this afternoon, which will be coming up shortly after this one. And I'm sure he'll be trying to work out a good strategy as well to try and make sure he seeds himself in that top 8 so he can qualify for the next race and get a lot of track action this afternoon. They'll be getting 2 hours worth of racing, let alone the extra qualifying and practice that they've already had today. So great value for money here at Simply Racing this series if you get into the top 8 in this race. So as the Cam Sport car then works its way through Sector 1, and with Ben Brown now very close behind him, it looks like he's going to be on the attack going down into the hairpin. Ben Brown's going to be in the slipstream in that big, very green and yellow Mercedes and pulling out, in fact, quite early. I'm surprised at that. See if potentially he's just going to make the move down the inside and make his intentions known. He's going to be very tight on the inside, gets the car stopped, and they both run very strangely wide. And you can hear a few calls in the studio here at Simply Races. Those two go slightly off the track, but we'll gloss over that.
Yeah, I think that was a good dive. He intended to just get straight across the front of Colin, which he did, and Colin just tried to give him the room and obviously ended up running each other off the track, but there's no harm done there between the two.
Oh, and Luke Austin very, very wide indeed. You can see his actual tyres making a mark on the road, and that's a
massive dive.
Great move from, I think that's Ben Winter, yeah. So, and Luke Austin gets the cut back on the exit and actually gets ahead of him again. So great racing again from Ben Winter and Luke Austin then as they come around, and Winter gets on the curb and spits himself out.
That's not going to end well. Luckily, he's managed to keep out the wall. Well done.
Yeah, lucky that tarmac was there. Otherwise, he would have been head on into the wall, and he's still inside the top 8, crucially. But it's a real setback for him, unfortunately, and just got on that sausage curve on the exit, and that does really exist in real life. It's huge when you hit it, trust me.
I experienced that a couple of times in the practice session where you put that one wheel on that curb and it froze you left.
I experienced it in real life in Euro NASCAR this year when we raced there, and it is, trust me, even in the Euro NASCAR, which has the whole suspension travel in the world that you could ever want, it's still a massive, massive sausage curve, and really does pull the car out, and you're really unable to turn into that final corner, so it's very, very difficult indeed. But the car's now continuing down into the hairpin. Once again, you can brake so late, but you have to change down so quickly as well because these cars are so strong on the brakes, as they're pretty much single-seater cars just with a big body on them. And the drivers then fire themselves out into Sector 2 and into the stadium sections. And it's got a nice mix of manufacturers down here. Then we've got a BMW up front with the Audi, and then followed by the Mercedes. And this is a battle for 8th place then with all...
Yeah,
he was just going slightly wide there with Ben Brown.
Ben Brown. But I've been told that being behind someone in these cars is not ideal because of the
air,
the dirty air. It's really quite severe. So when you're behind someone, it's really hard to get past. So maybe that's what I'm seeing here from Ben Brown trying to get past Przemek Glodek. He's really struggling to get the grip. But this is the battle for 4th with Avram and Luke Austin. He's been having an entertaining race with Ben Winter behind as well. This is a nice little freeway battle.
Absolutely, so he absolutely fired it through turn 1, and track limits there. I'm sure Will Jagurtha. Now Will was very.
He said he wasn't. He was going to be not happy with people if they did. So.
Absolutely, and also from what we saw in the 24-hour, where I got told off track limits as well by Will. Obviously, he's not very lenient on them, so we'll maybe expecting some potential penalties coming in for drivers who keep on doing that kind of track limits infringements abuse at turn 1, especially because it is quite an easy corner to run wide at. So as we see the battle for 2nd place heating up as well, then you can see Stuart French in the distance, but these two, Jessup and Bittencourt's moved up 5 places so far, so he was all the way down in 8th, and now he's up to 3rd, so doing a fantastic job in that Mercedes, and fantastic to see. Nice Brazilian flag on the top of that car as well. It looks an absolutely awesome livery, so really well done to whoever made that. So as they go through that section of the circuit then into the stadium section, it's going to be interesting to see if the Mercedes can close upon the BMW. That's exactly the distance where the aero, as you can see him from running wide, really does take effect, and you've got to push so much harder to get the car to work.
You can see that front end just did not want to put grip as much, being right that close. So definitely seeing this battle hot up now with Bittencourt and Jessup. Not heard of Jessup, so it's, for a fair new person to be into the championship in 2nd place, that's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe he has done some Simply Race Championship races before, potentially in the Clios, I want to say. I'm not 100% on that, but still he's proven that he is absolutely up there with the best of them, and braking, and he actually got on the curb there and it sent him slightly wide. I don't think that really helped, but he got a good exit at least going onto the straight, so even though he went slightly deep into the corner, he was able to cut back and use the exit to full effect. So as we see the cars running down towards the hairpin once again now, up towards 165 miles an hour before hitting the brakes at pretty much the 100-metre board, and you can see the cars diving onto the brakes, spit of flame out the exhaust, and it's getting ever so close for 2nd place then between Jessup and Bittencourt. And these two guys really obviously don't want to throw it away as well, because the other few drivers just behind them, you can see, are very, very close, and they'll be wanting to pick up those places. We've also got a close battle, I think, between Luke Austin and Watts, I believe, potentially, so we'll keep an eye on that one as well, but we'll stick with these two guys for the moment. Well, actually, it is Luke Austin and Bill Watts just behind, so battling for 5th place at the moment.
I've noticed Glodek's dropped a couple of places as well. He was up into 8th earlier.
So Glodek sounds he had an off then.
Yeah, we had an off, so he's down to 10th with Colin Talbot in front. He'll definitely wanting to get past Colin. He's a main rival.
They always seem to be stuck together, them two, whenever they race.
They do,
so it's pretty close then for quite a few positions, and it's quite difficult to commentate on so many races going on. As the Audi goes very wide, the blue Audi then just to the back of shots. That was Bill Watts just going wide there out of the final corner, and Luke Austin obeying those track limits now. He's just given one close. I believe it is, as long as you've got one wheel on the curb, and he did have one wheel on the inside on the curb there. It was very close, but probably judging it to absolute perfection then as he comes through out of sector 1 and firing his way all the way down the straight. He's got a bit of breathing space now between the car in front and the car behind him, thanks to that small off from Bill Watts. So let's see if Bill can potentially close the gap back up. You can see the orange car way off in the distance of Stuart French, who's absolutely left these guys behind. He's 6 seconds up the road at the moment, and that gap is still increasing. And it looks like we've got still a good battle on for 2nd place with Jessup and Bittencourt. So Bittencourt looking to try and make up even more places at the moment. He's currently made up 5. He's looking to make up potentially 6 as he goes through a very tight corner at turn 7.
Now, would following people in this dirty air and struggling for traction, is that going to affect tyre life, do you think? Was it going to...
Well, your front's definitely going to wear out quicker, aren't they?
definitely going to be more harsher on the car. So being in Bittencourt's position, maybe just sit there, keep comfortable gap and not try too hard to get in front, and maybe try the undercut like you mentioned earlier on, and save them tyres a bit better for the race. Maybe that's a strategy, I'm not sure, but again, we don't want French to get away because he's obviously miles ahead at the moment.
Yeah, I'd say, obviously French is 6 seconds up the road now, so he's got
7.
Well, 7, yeah. Even more. It's saying 16 at the moment. I don't think that's completely true. I think our timing's gone a bit square potentially.
There you go.
It's gone back to normal now. So, yeah, French leading out front, and it's getting quite a bit of support from Tim Lane as well on the YouTube feed. So great to see Tim joining us for this one. How many viewers have we got? 16 on the YouTube and then 2 on the Facebook. So share it. The Facebook. So, Arts Embrace Facebook channel as well. So get sharing on the Facebook stream if you will, and get it nice and close to the back. Was
he really did make sure he didn't want to hit him.
He pretty much had to stop, didn't he, to avoid hitting the back of Jessup's BMW, and that was very, very close. And that means that Avram has also closed in as well.
I was about to say Avram's closed in, and also Luke Austin isn't really far off these either. So these all could close up if Jessup isn't.
Yeah, Jessup just doesn't seem to have the pace at the moment, and it looks like potentially if Bittencourt can't get past him, and actually we've now got Avram closer to Bittencourt than Bittencourt is to Jessup, so we've now actually got a battle for 3rd place, and it's looking he's going to go very tasty, and he smacks the back of him. I think the Mercedes will be able to save that. He does so, a great save it was, and Avram's having to back off massively, and it's a bit of contact there. I don't know why Jessup Bittencourt backed off so much though. He should have just got on the power and got out of it, but instead he just couldn't seem to get the car going again, and that means that Luke Austin has
very opportunistic
has gone up to 3rd place from pretty much 6th on the road. So it's all changed around in just those last few seconds, and I'm not quite sure why Bittencourt slowed up so much there. He just didn't seem to get on the power.
He couldn't get on the power. I think the wheels were on the grass a bit, and then he took his time to get on the throttle without dumping it, if you know what I mean, without getting on throttle and then spinning the wheels and spinning it completely. He just tried to get out of it smoothly, and it cost him big time.
Absolutely, and we've got a battle for 3rd place now. Luke Austin versus Bittencourt. Bittencourt's going for that 3rd. He was going for 2nd place. He's now going for 3rd place once again, and into the braking zone. Who's going to be the last of the late breakers? It's going to be Luke Austin. He's going to have the tighter line into the corner. Can they get the cars stopped? They can do. Luke Austin is on the exit, but look at the exit that Bill Watt's got, and Bill's now up into 3rd place. That was an insane move to take 2 cars in one hairpin, and these 2 are still squabbling, but now they're squabbling for the position that they were trying to fight to not be in, as they go through the stadium section then, and Luke Austin just gets ahead of Bittencourt. Bittencourt unfortunately has dropped all the way from 3rd to 5th in a matter of a few corners there, and he's going to have now Winter for company, Ben Winter as well in that BMW going into the stadium section then, and it's all kicking off for that 3rd place. We've got Bill Watts, who ever the opportunist, and Bittencourt gets hit again, and unfortunately in the same place, and I'm not sure if he's just braking a tiny bit too early, but unfortunately Ben Winter just hit the back of him there and spun him round, so unfortunately Bittencourt is dropping all the way down the order and potentially down into 8th place. So unfortunately there may be some investigations into that, because that was a pretty wild last few laps, wasn't it?
There's going to be at least a couple of penalties, although would you say that punt last lap was going to be a penalty, because he did really let him go, didn't he?
Well, he backed off to make sure he got back past, and then Luke Austin unfortunately just came through. And it's very unfortunate for Avram actually, because Avram was in a prime position to take those 2 places away, and then Luke Austin came up the inside, and there were 3 wide going through a section that you can never even go 2 wide through.
It's not going to happen. I mean, Jessup's obviously laughing as well, because he is the one that's getting caught in all of this, and now he's gapped them all because of that sort of action for 3rd place battle. But French is also pulling that gap away from Jessup, so them 2 slightly getting away. We'll just have to watch if Luke Austin and Bill Watts can catch up to Jessup.
Absolutely, and this all really kicked off because there was a battle going on between Bittencourt and Jessup for 2nd place.
Yeah.
That then turned into a battle from Bittencourt to Ben Winter or Avram. Actually, no, it was Avram for 3rd place. And then basically it all tangled at a hairpin, and in the stadium section that we're just coming up to now, and it all switched around. Bill Watts, who was down in 6th place, came up to 3rd. Luke Austin went from 3rd down to 5th and then back up to 4th again. So it all kicked off, and it was quite exciting, really, especially for our first race of the Super Race DTM series. And a fantastic way to kick it off. We've had quite a lot of drama already. We've still got 35 minutes remaining of this race, and 20 minutes gone. Luke Austin getting all up on that curb on the final corner and going even wider still, and just judging it ever so slightly. And now we've got
someone in the pits.
Yeah, so Ben Winter then in from 5th place into the pit lane quite early.
That is very early. I mean, I was about to say next lap that you probably start to see people maybe introducing the pit strategies, but that is really early. He's got a long stint to do.
You've got to think he's done 20 minutes so far on these tyres. He's now got to do 35.
That's an extra 15 minutes more than what he's just done. So
nearly double.
If he's pitting because he thinks his tyres are knackered, then I really help him.
Maybe looking for a 2-stop race. Yeah.
So we might see a 2-stop strategy. We don't know, but that is.
However, when the pit stops do happen now, we're going to be looking at him making his way further up. So now he's come potentially back out, I believe, in 12th place.
It gets him out of the dirty
he's going to
air
have
as well.
potentially, it gets him out of potential traffic. Also, he's going to be on fresh tyres. He's going to go very quickly. When these guys do begin to stop, he will have that track position. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that gets on. Obviously, if you've got guys chasing you with better tyres, it's very, very difficult to keep them behind. But then if you've got track position, then you've got track position. And if that helps in any way to just keep the guys behind, and if he feels he can defend from them for long enough, it could be a winner. But I doubt it somehow.
It's a strong
it's
strategy.
a strong strategy, yeah.
But you just got to make sure you can make them tyres last in that second stint, and make a lot of ground when the tyres are good as well. Like you're saying, make them track position early as you can.
As Luke Austin goes wide and out onto the gravel, and that's cost him quite a bit of time. That'll probably cost him about 2 seconds or so. Really slowed him up, and that will bring Avram a tiny bit closer to him in that grey Mercedes as he goes through turn 1, then chucks the car in inch perfect, tiny bit wide.
Not inch perfect.
No, not an inch perfect at all. The apex was, but the exit wasn't. And Ben Brown behind him in that very, very fluorescent Mercedes C-Class then.
And is that another car just come out the pit lane as well?
Oh, sorry. So who are we looking at now then? So that's 6th place. So that is Ben Brown. And then there's a car that's a lap down just behind them. Right, okay, I see. So then we haven't seen much of Stuart French, to be fair, because he's just gone from the hairpin of lap 1, and he's now 8 seconds up the road. We've got Luke Austin going wide again. Luke, watch out for track limits, mate. He's
obviously sort of starting to get the tyres being a problem for him at the moment.
Were you finding that the tyres were overheating as well during qualifying?
Well, not during qualifying. Through the practice session I did, I found that it was really hard.
That's after a long run on the laps.
It wasn't that long either, to be honest with you.
So here's our race leader.
See the race leader finally.
It's very McLaren-esque livery, that is.
Very nice.
But yeah, very nice indeed on that Audi S5. Well, I think it's an RS5 really, isn't it? But the DTM special. So as he comes round the last corner, pretty much inch perfect from him, and onto another lap. I wonder who's got the fastest lap of the race at the moment as well. We can see from our live timing that it is Stuart French then with a 1:34.5. So that's a pretty quick lap for a race lap. Obviously he's got to be trying to manage his tyres as well, as we're watching Avram in 5th place with Ben Brown just behind then. So these two quite close together on circuit. And Ben Brown will be feeling the effect of the dirty air of that Mercedes. They have got a lot of downforce in these cars. You don't realise how much they've got, but all the wings and flares and especially the wheel arches mean that the cars are pretty much a Formula 3 car with a big body on it, and they're extremely fast.
So obviously we're seeing Ben Brown coming through from that incident. Is it lap 1? Lap 1 incident? No, it's lap 1 or 2 incident, wasn't it?
It was lap 1, wasn't it? Going into the hairpin.
With Chris Wilson and Ben Brown. So Ben Brown obviously got turned, to which now he is on the charge back through the grid. He went down to 13th place, and he's
done
now
a good job
in 6th. So that is a serious charge.
And he's got all these guys in his sights now, so he's got everybody pretty much up to about 3rd place in his sights. So it's going to be interesting now to see if he can make the charge past these guys and get back up into those top 3 positions.
Yeah.
Now filled by Jessup and Bill Watts, sorry. So as they go through the stadium section, then chucking it through past the drag strip and down very, very close to the sand, and even Ben Brown just touching it slightly there. He's going to have a tiny bit of dirt on his tyres as they come around the very long banked left-hander. And then through this section once again, they dip down into the last corner in third gear, just keeping it nice and steady on the throttle and then accelerating out. Did I see Luke?
Yeah, we've got
Austin
another
in the pits there.
We've got another pit stop.
So Luke is in the pits.
It is
so
Luke Austin, yes.
he goes down 30 minutes remaining then, so he feels this is the right time to pit.
That's a rough
I think
estimate
that's
of the
about
right
right.
time to pit. Yeah, if he's not getting on with his tyres in this first stint, he now knows he needs to be a bit more cautious next stint and get the tyres done at this very time, and then eke it out until this next stint.
Yeah, and obviously because of all this squabbling as well, their tyre wear is probably going to be quite a bit higher than it will be in this second stint, because they've had to try and defend and brake later and come offline and use a bit more tyre wear.
Ben Winter coming round, and he is actually
Just
undercutting.
ahead. Yeah.
Because
So
he was behind, wasn't he? We mentioned that earlier. But later on in the race, we'll see that one drop off, I assume. So there we go. That's interesting to see. When Luke Austin pitted, he was fourth, was he, I believe? So Ben Winter's jumped that position. Interesting to see.
so he could be looking at a top 3 position here. As we said, he's had a good probably 5 laps or so on the fresh tyres. And,
with clean air most of the
with
time.
clean air as well,
Yeah.
so he's been absolutely pounding some good lap times in, and it's seemed to work. So it was quite a big undercut, but the undercut has worked for him, it seems, as Arav goes all over that sausage curb and bottoms out the car as they come into the stadium section. He's now up into 4th place thanks to Luke Austin pitting. So it's going to be very interesting to see if Luke Austin, now with fresher tyres than Ben Winter, to see if he can get past. And that position, I believe, will be around 4th or 5th or so. Come the end of the race, potentially, barring any dramas from those guys.
So I think is French pitted, or is that just a problem with the timing now? I'm not 100%. No,
French is still out there at the moment. I think even if he did pit, he'd still probably come out just ahead, or pretty much with Jessup. No, actually, I think he would have come out behind. He'd come out in 3rd place, wouldn't he?
But what I am noticing, Bill Watts, that was a good 3 or 4 seconds, is now right on the tail of Jessup. So
is that Winters pitting again? It is. So
it
Ben
is,
Winters
unless he's got a penalty for any reason.
Potentially, this may be a drive-through. So we'll keep an eye out. We'll watch him down here and see if he comes into the pit again. But it could be a drive-through. He's actually going into a box.
To the right, unless it's a stop-go. If it's that severe.
Potentially. Does the car lift up? Yeah, it does. So he's going for tyres again. So
unless the first one was for a stop-go or a drive-through, we need to obviously get confirmation on that one.
I'm surprised at that. Obviously, we didn't actually see him go. But tyres do take 5 seconds on these, so potentially it was a tyre stop and not just a 5-second stop-go. But it's going to be very interesting now to see. Obviously, he had that contact earlier on down at the stadium section, so it could be for that.
Battle on for P4.
Yeah. So this is Ben Brown then and Avram, who's in 4th place at the moment. So. Great to see Costas Avram competing in this championship. As Ben Brown looks, he's putting his nose in there.
He's sent him wide. That is really clever.
He's into the gravel and into the barriers potentially as well. So Avram, unfortunately, then just got. Well, he didn't get touched at all.
He felt the pressure, really. It was very clever from Ben Brown there. He made it look like he was going to dive bomb, and he just backed out of it, to which it really scared Avram off, to which he went straight off. Yeah. Now he's going straight to the pits. Yeah. Probably a wise decision.
Same with Joe Jessup as well. So it looks like the tyres then are starting to fall off the cliff a tiny bit. We've still got Luke Austin back up into, where is he? He's still in 9th place because of all these pit stops. We're going to see Joe Jessup and a few others drop down now, especially with Avram in the pits as well. So these guys are going to start dropping down the order. Colin Talbot up into 4th place,
and
he's yet to
as
pit.
Well, he's following Colin. They've made 7 places, 8 places, them two.
Yeah,
so.
But they still need to pit at the moment. We can see Avram just leaving the pit lane now, and then Ben Winter as well. He's come out. He's down in 12th place then, so he's dropped quite far down actually as Winter and Avram's come out in 10th place. So it's very interesting now. So we're watching Luke Austin at the moment, who's in 8th place, who just came out the pit lane. So it's all now mixing up, and we're only going to really work out with about 20 minutes to go who's actually in the positions that they're in, seeded pretty much until the end of the race. And then we're going to have a big, I presume, battle royale to see who can get into the top 8 as well, because Bittencourt is on the cusp after making his earlier pit stop. and potentially a penalty as well. Actually, no, he was the one that got touched, wasn't he?
He was the one that got touched twice, wasn't he? So.
Yeah, so he had those. He got touched twice, so that's why he's down in 9th place. But he's got to try and work his way up, because otherwise he's going to be on the cusp and potentially eliminated from entering the A race that's going to happen slightly later on, which you'll see Jack Ashton, who's sitting alongside me, starting from 6th position. We've got the car in 2nd place. Bill Watts into the pit lane then for his scheduled tyre change. The car goes up on the jacks. Virtual tyres changed, obviously the car drops and away he goes, but it's going to be very close with this man and also Luke Austin as they come out the pit lane then, so he's going to filter out between, so Joe Jessup then potentially up into 5th or 4th place. Bill Watts is just about to exit the pit lane as well. We've had French make a pit stop as well, so it's only Ben Brown now who's actually
and Talbot
hasn't made a pit stop yet, along with Colin Talbot. Yes, you're right. God, it's all kicking off,
yes,
isn't it?
It's trying to work out who's who and where.
Luke Austin's trying to make a move on, I believe that's Chris Wilson, is it?
Bittencourt, is it?
No, it
was Chris Wilson. Sorry, yeah.
So Luke Austin then up in 6th place after his pit stop, so he's pretty much seated in that position now. He's got Colin Talbot ahead of him yet to pit as well, but I think Bill Watts has lost out slightly, to Jessup, because they were pretty close together, but Jessup was behind Bill Watts come the pit stop, so. Was he in second actually? He was in second.
Yeah, Jessup was second, and he was getting caught a lot by Bill Watts, wasn't he? And then they made their pit stops just as he was right on the tail of them, I believe. So, and I think similar time pit stops as well, so no undercuts.
Almost within a second of each other, so that's still a battle to watch. We've got Ben Brown yet to pit.
I was going to say, we got to see him pit now, I would have said, unless he really wants to try and eke this out, but I don't feel there's any need.
He's going to have a lot of tyres going towards the end of this race. He bails for the pit lane and comes in quite gingerly there. I would have been a lot, especially with the time that he's got to make up.
Yeah, but maybe just
going into the pit lane.
Not get the stop go for speeding the pits. It's not
true.
Drive through or whatever they're going to get.
You've got a long way until that actual line as well. You can get up to around 120 mile an hour before hitting the brakes. I did have a tiny practice in practice earlier on, but he's still in the pit lane. We've got Colin now into the pits as well, so Colin's going to drop down the order.
We'll see if Shamak Glodek can make the undercut on Colin Talbot as well, because obviously them two were fairly close together before the pit stop phase. We'll have a look at that. Here comes out Ben Brown in 7th. Yeah, that's about right, wasn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah. So we've got Bittencourt, who's dropped down somewhat. Obviously, he had that contact earlier on. It dropped him pretty much into contention of being knocked out of the going through into the A final. But he's now up in 6th place, so he's made up some positions in that pit stop. We've got Chris Wilson up into 5th as well. So it's great to see Chris, who he did actually start quite high up. He started up in 3rd, but he's dropped down some.
Didn't he?
Yeah, he had that penalty. So great to see him starting to fight back. Now we've got a 3-car battle going on, just going down into turn 3. We just cut away from it there, but here it is. It's back now. So we've got the battle for 10th and 11th. So this is Shamak Glodek and Peter Vlar. Obviously, we haven't actually spoken much about Peter. He's been in the bottom 10, but great to see him.
Place up.
Yeah, great to see. He's made one place up, so as Avram and all that, especially Avram, I was expecting him to be further up now because potentially he had that penalty for that collision.
Yes.
So that's probably dropped him down as we've got a car going wide, and that is Tyson, I believe. Yeah. So another newcomer to the series, Victor Tyson, just running wide there in his very baby blue Mercedes.
It's a nice looking car, isn't it?
It's a very nice looking car. We've got a comment from JR Sim Racing on YouTube saying, "Good commentary, guys. Thank you very much."
Mainly you. I'm giving my little input, but mainly you.
Mate, it's a two-man team. Don't worry about it.
I'm trying my best. I'm doing all right.
I'm doing all right. Don't worry about me, man. I'm fine.
I'll do a couple of words, and I'm like, and look at you, please.
Talk, please.
Yeah, please.
So, as we see, our leader then, just going through there, was the orange Audi of Stuart French, who's pretty much 8 seconds out in front.
That gap has come down a little bit. Yeah, you're right.
So Jessup's been on it. Potentially French has been struggling with traffic a tiny bit. These guys, obviously we've had Rogers being lapped now, and I'm sure that Trifimov is pretty close to being lapped as well. So it's Trofimov. Apologies for getting that name wrong. But yeah, so they're going to be on the cusp of getting lapped as well, potentially with 90 seconds, and it's around 100-second lap, isn't it? So, no, it's a 1 minute 33 lap, so it's very close.
Lap there, look, it's been Winter.
And he's in
right down in 13th because he had them two pit stops, wasn't it, that we noticed. So we were still unsure of why that happened.
So we got a battle on here. The cut-off for the A final, so we've got 8th and 9th and 10th place as well all together then. So we've got Chris Wilson with Shamak Glodek in the very blue Audi just behind him and lapping very quickly indeed. So these guys are going to be fighting fiercely to make sure that they're not missing out on their chance to race for a second time in the final race of the day, the A race, which is going to be part from the quickest drivers in qualifying. And it's going to be joined by the top 8 in this group as well, just to make sure we've got 2 15-car full grids for this event. So great to have that, and Simply Race allowing that to happen. So everybody gets, we get 2 full grid races for today. We've got Ben Brown trying to attack Bittencourt down into turn 3, and there was a bit of a nudge there. And Ben Brown does like a bit of a nudge at times, doesn't he, as he goes through turn 4 and then down the very long straight. It's going to be right on the back of him. I mean, coming into the hairpin.
Seriously impressive driving from Ben Brown to come all the way up into 5th from where he was after that incident on the first lap. But he's going to go to the outside after Bittencourt goes defensive.
Is Bittencourt going to go deep into the hairpin? He's going to try and get the cut back. Bittencourt goes wide, and unfortunately then he's lost that place to Ben Brown. And Ben Brown, after being spun out at that very corner on lap 1, has moved up into 4th place then. So a good recovery drive from Ben Brown, the Cam Sport driver then. And then here come the rest of the field. So that's Shamak Glodek and then Var in 10th place, then the very black Mercedes as they come round towards that very hairpin we were watching just moments ago where Ben Brown made that move.
So I mentioned earlier about Colin Talbot pitting later than Shamak Glodek, thinking that Shamak Glodek will get the undercut, but it's actually worked the opposite way. Colin's made some time on Shamak there, and he's got better tyres. So.
And now he's in the cut-off point for the second race of the day, so he's going to be very happy with that. Obviously started down in 11th place, so not normally where we see Colin, to be fair. He's normally hovering around the top 5.
But the competition is really tight today, so I'm not no excuses for anyone to be down the
absolutely,
grid.
And if you've got to remember, you've got Chris Wilson behind, who was actually up quite far up there actually. He must have pitted quite late, or he might have had a penalty. As Luke Austin goes very wide and onto the gravel and onto the grass. And Colin just avoids him, but a good save from Luke. But that was a sketchy moment there, as he was pretty much saving that for a good 100 metres down the straight.
Brown trouser moment, that one, wasn't it? Certainly.
So then Colin moves up into 6th place, and he's going to be so happy if he can manage to keep this result. We've got 18 minutes left on the clock then, and he moves his red Audi into the top 6 positions after starting 11th, so a good start from him. I think Luke Austin was actually making a joke about how sketchy that moment was. I think I just heard him in the background while he's racing. It's pretty live reactions for you there in the Simply Race facility. We're watching the battle for 9th place now then, so Vlad's moved up into 9th with Shamak Glodek in 10th, and then Avram in 11th,
which I think we'll see Avram come through these two.
Yeah, because we saw him very quick earlier on. He was up into 4th place, and Vlad goes wide, and that may allow Glodek to go through then. But let's see what Avram can do, see if he can try and make a move on that very black Mercedes then going towards the stadium sections. He brakes on the brakes, and Avram's, what a dive up the inside. There's contact there, and Avram actually gets spun round. He's done Sebastian Vettel and spun right round. He just clipped the side end of the car and didn't really upset the black Mercedes whatsoever.
Somehow Vlad could come out of that completely unscathed. That was pretty lucky for him. It was a late dive. Did he stop it on the apex? I'm not 100%
It was
sure.
a bit optimistic, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Especially a corner where you've got that massive sausage curb on the inside. You really don't want to make a dive up there, especially it can really unsettle the car, especially cars as low as these, where they really rely on the floor to give them extra downforce. If you hit a massive sausage curb like that, it just really upsets the car. So to do it in a corner like that, he could have waited, but then if he could have waited, should have, would have.
Yeah, that's
and,
it. Always say that.
Why not absolutely go for it and just see what happens? And I like that attitude. So as we see Luke Austin then trying to recover from that very sketchy moment a few moments ago, he's going to be battling with Colin Talbot, the Cam Sport and Simply Race veteran.
Yeah, the Simply Race veteran.
The man.
The man of the moment.
Kept this place running pretty much as well. Thanks to Colin, just living only down the road. He's down here pretty much every weekend and competing in pretty much every single championship we've had to offer.
And why not?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Colin's an absolutely great guy. He's fantastic to chat to. He's always got some really nice words for everybody. So and he hasn't got a bad bone in his body.
Not at all.
Really, really nice guy, and fantastic to see him racing here after 4 years of Simply Race being open now. So great to see
It's
Colin.
more than that, isn't it?
Is it more than that?
I
How many
think
is it, Grant? Nearly
it's
nearly 5. I joined late.
I
Right,
was
sorry.
one of the first as well with Colin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so Jack as well. I can't believe how quickly it's gone. We've all grown up, and you know.
Everyone's moved on.
Well,
but
some people
Colin's
have grown up.
Still coming here.
Yeah, Colin loves it. So just as much as we do. We've now got Ben Winter. We haven't seen Ben for a while actually. So these guys, this is the battle for second place, and it's
So
very,
that's-
very tight indeed.
Bill Watts has really closed that gap, because I did remember thinking that he was only about a second or two before the pit stop, and he lost a good 5 seconds from the pit stop, and now he's already on the back of him now. So one to watch for this battle. You could be getting a P2 here.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bill Watts, I'm really impressed by Bill Watts. I haven't seen him in a Simply Race Championship before, so to come in straight away and go P3 in a championship that's as tough as this,
Tightly contested.
really,
yeah.
and especially cars as difficult as this as well. I had 2 or 3 laps of practice in the open practice session.
Tyres
It's
as well.
crazy how
really
difficult these
hard.
cars are. It's a nice car, don't get me wrong, but to get a proper good lap time out of them and be consistent, it is quite difficult. And I wouldn't recommend just not doing any sim racing at all and stepping out and going into one, because they are difficult to manage. So as we saw him actually go quite wide there, going out of turn 7.
That's what we're talking about, this dirty air. I think he's finding it hard when he's behind the car.
Especially braking as well. I
It's
think the
not
aero
easy,
helps a lot
yeah.
to slow the car down.
Definitely.
So braking in when you've got that dirty air, it just takes all that pressure off the front end of the car, and means that you have to be a bit more cautious on the brakes, and you don't want to be braking when you're rotating like that as well. That's a bit dodgy there from Watts, but he managed to gather it together, and the aero seemed to help him out there and just keep the car rolling. Watching these two go through turn 1 now, that's pretty much inch perfect from Winter there, and keeping it nicely on the curb. Jessup, sorry.
Yep, no.
They've got very similar cars, that's why. They're both in BMWs,
there we
blue
go.
BMWs, so that's why. Apologies for that. But it is Jessup in second place. Winter's all the way down in 11th, so I don't know why I'm getting them two mixed up. But Winter was up there until, unfortunately, some calamities have dented his progress in that race. Going towards the braking zone, then you can see Stuart French. Gap's now up to 10 seconds, so he has increased that gap. It was around 8 seconds, it's now up to 10 with these two battling. So it's going to be very interesting seeing the last 14 minutes of this race, who can take second place.
Yeah, and I see Glodek's just scraped into the top 8, which is the cut-off point for the A race.
But he's
with
got Vlar behind him
Vlar
as well.
right behind him. We did see Avram earlier, right close to these guys, but they're swapping positions actually. Them two. In
Yeah,
eighth
they
and
are.
ninth,
We
so
might actually go back to that, because that is a really important
Position,
That's
yeah.
Colin, and there we go. Then, so this is the position. This is cut-off point. So the line between these two drivers is the cut-off point between getting through to the A race, and it looks like the black Mercedes is going to do a massive launch down the inside. He actually saw it coming and actually went wide himself. So he tried to back out of it, thinking the BMW was the Mercedes was going to go up the inside.
We
and
saw
actually
that
went wide
earlier,
himself.
didn't we? With Ben Brown doing the similar move, putting the nose there, making people think they're diving, and certainly not, and
And he actually got
forcing
the car
people
stopped.
into areas. Yeah, that's
I'm
it.
surprised, because that Mercedes was coming in super, super hot. It
Yeah.
looked from my angle at least. I might have got a tiny bit out of prediction, but yeah, it still was crazy how much they were diving onto the brakes into that corner. But both of them going wide. That means now Vlar up to 8th place, and then Glodek just being shoved out of that top 8 positions. So then, as they come down into the hairpin section, we've got Bittencourt up in 5th place. He's pretty secure for making it through, but we've now got a fantastic battle between Colin and Luke.
I think we've seen Colin obviously behind Luke Austin most of this race, and Luke having quite a spicy first half of the race, and he's going for a dive.
Colin saw it coming though. Colin
He's-
saw it coming
he's
and went
made it.
wide, and
He's
it's
made it
exactly the
stick.
same as what we saw a few moments ago, just putting him so under pressure, making it look like it was a huge dive.
Exactly.
Colin being the cautious driver that
Not
he
wanting
is.
to get the contact.
No,
yeah, that's
absolutely, because he knows what's at stake. As long as he can get into that second race, I think that'll be pretty much his day made. But yeah, it's Colin spent all day here because he did this Simply Race Formula.
Right, okay, so he's going to be knackered.
Yeah, he's going to be knackered as well. But a good Sunday's racing from
Especially if
from
he
Colin.
makes it into the A final, he'll be doing the second race for this one as well. So
He definitely got his money's worth today. Will Colin Talbot. We've got Avram close to these two in 10th place then. So it looks like potentially he could potentially look to be getting back up into those top 8 positions. He's got to pass Shamak Glodek and Vlar. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see if he can make some clean overtakes. Obviously, he kind of rushed into the last one and it cost him quite dearly at that corner that he just went through.
only 11 minutes to get it done as well. It might seem quite a bit, but
it's difficult. It goes quickly.
It goes quick, especially with dirty air as well. Trying to make these tyres last. There's a lot of permutations to get past these people. See if you can do it though. Piling the pressure onto Shamak already. Yeah, he made some real good ground there out of that exit, that hairpin. Runs a little deep there, or is it just getting a good slingshot? Oh, Shamak ends up on the curb. That's a position game. Nicely done.
Yep, so Shamak Glodek then moving down into 10th place after. It was good that he didn't turn in to Avram though. He could have easily turned in and there could have been some contact, but knowing that he ran wide, he just thought he knew the car was there.
It's his own mistake. He's got to let the position go, isn't he? That's plain and simple.
Absolutely. So Colin Talbot then and Luke Austin all looking set for making their way into the second part of the race. Well, the second, or the A race as we will call it, coming up very shortly after this one. We've got Stuart French in the lead of this race, as he has been from the word go. And then Joe Jessup in second place. Impressive showing from Joe to get up to second place, along with Bill Watt in third, up 6 positions. So he was
the
looking
pressure on as well now, as we see.
Absolutely, yeah. So let's see if Watts can get past Joe Jessup then. Into turn 1 they go, and Watts will be feeling that aero just trying to slip away from him. They both make the track limits, well, they seem to... I'm going to get my words out in a second, Jack. I will get them out. They seem to obey track limits. There we go. And the Audi then following the BMW down towards the hairpin. They're going to get. He's quite far back. I don't think he'll be close enough to make a move. But we have seen some dives go on earlier on in this race. So let's see if they can. Let's see if Watts can try and make the move. Now he goes. He's very, very late on the brakes. Almost touches the back, and he's putting the car into neutral, I believe, as well. And that's why the car just stopped. And he's ended up running wide as well, as he just tried to get the car rolling again.
Like we were saying, on the brakes, it's just so hard to get it judged with when to brake being behind someone, because you don't have the downforce to stop the car as easy as you do when you have clean air. And you could see he certainly tried his absolute utmost to get that car stopped as he come to a stop on that hairpin. But yeah, it's obviously proving tricky with behind people at the moment.
Yeah, so now Avram's moved up into 8th place as well. We were watching that battle, so he's up into the cut-off point, and that's left Shamak Glodek and Ben Winter then to try and fight out for that 9th spot.
It was Vlar that was in 8th, but he's all the way down in 13th now. So what's going on there? He must have some error, or maybe stop-go or something. We'll have to maybe find out what happened there. He's almost a lap down, in fact, so...
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm just trying to look at his times, but his times look okay, so it doesn't look like it happened on the last lap. So maybe that happened 3 laps ago, and we just unfortunately missed it because of all the other drama going on the racetrack. We've got a battle then for 9th place then that we're watching at the moment between Ben Winter, who really was up there, and he's going to be very disappointed with that, as is Chris Wilson, who has lost 8 positions, so he went all the way down from pretty much, it was, what was it, third on the grid. Whoa, sorry, I just missed that there as I was looking away, and that's a massive dive from Ben Winter. And you don't normally make a dive there, to be fair. It's a very, very tight corner. It looks quite open, but in real life it's super tight.
He's obviously on a charge to try and get into that top 8 position. He can see it in his sights, not far ahead, and he's put Glodek in a very tricky situation. This is going to be interesting. We go 2
there's contact there, and they're into the barriers, and those two just... What was the wiggle for, Ben? Kind of like
they weren't given any
inch at all.
No, there wasn't.
But so there was contact there, and it was lucky that this is sim racing, because that would have been a massive
That wouldn't
impact.
be a nice one, would it?
That would have been a trip to the hospital, I think, for if that was real life. But luckily, because it's sim racing, no one's hurt whatsoever, and they carry on. But that was a huge drama then, going into turn 1 at about 140 miles an hour, head on into the barrier. But so Winter then going for the move on Glodek, but Glodek was having none of it, and those two then just getting a tiny bit. It was a bit Ferrari-esque of
it was, yes.
where they didn't really want to give each other any room whatsoever, and one moved across on the other, and we'd have to probably get a slow motion replay to see what happened there. But for the moment, Stuart French is leading the way in that very nice.
Quite nicely. He's got a nice cushion behind him there. He just needs to get it to the finish. Only 6 minutes left, really. And that battle with Jessup and Watts is still similar gap. If not, Jessup's pulled a little bit on Watts. So as soon as you get behind people in here, it's proving really tricky to get past or stay with them in that dirty air. We might be trying to get a replay of that incident we just saw earlier as well. That would be quite interesting. Get a different angle, see what actually happened, but let's have a little look.
Yeah, we may be able to get that replay in just a second, thanks to Grant's great production skills. Here we go then. So this is looking on top of Ben Winter's car. So Shamak moves over, sees he's there, moves back across, and then I think Ben thought he'd pretty much cleared the gap, and the gap just didn't clear. But
it was mentioned in the little briefing before the race that the mirrors are very deceiving, and cars are closer than. Yeah, cars are closer than what they seem.
So I think Ben Winters is going to put some new tyres on now that he's kind of he's out of contention for the next race. He's going to go for fastest lap.
Although he's already got the fastest lap. So.
He's going to go for another fastest lap, by the looks of it then.
He wants to improve.
But so the man out in front then that's led from pretty much the word go has been this man, Stuart French. And
dominant drive.
Yeah,
really.
dominant, absolutely dominant. As it's been nicely controlled, and he's pretty much led the whole way. It's been 10 seconds or plus for the last 20 minutes or so.
Yeah. And I think Ben Brown, you've got to take your hat off to come back all the way to 4th.
Oh yeah, after that
turn
1, turn 3 spin, wasn't it?
Yeah, the lap 1, turn 3. Yeah, it's definitely a good effort from Ben Brown.
He needs something on the back of that car though. It's very blue, isn't it? But there's nothing on the back of it. There's no there's no badge or anything. It's just a blue.
Needs a
blue bum.
A Ben Brown sticker on the back.
Yeah, it does. It needs a "Do not send me" sticker on the back of it. But actually, someone after the 24-hour race a few weekends ago wrote "Send it" on the back of my Fiesta, scratched it, etched it into the dirt, and. I was getting people absolutely lunge me on roundabouts, and it was great fun. So as we see the Mercedes then turning into turn 8 then and through the stadium section.
How can you remember the turn number?
Because I raced here earlier this year. So
no, that's not an excuse.
Is it not turn 8?
No, I'm saying that's not your excuse. You got a track map with the numbers in front of you. That's why you know.
I didn't even know that was there.
Yeah.
Actually, he was going through. I was also he was going through Mercedes corner. There's a corner called Mercedes.
That's
mainly because there was like a Mercedes grandstand there with a big.
Now he's
Mercedes.
going through Sud curve. I like that
Sud
one.
curve. Yeah. I like how the Germans do a curve with a K.
Curve.
It's curve. So as he goes through Nord curve, which is turn 1, that was very aggressive through Nord curve as he goes through down in towards. It's just turn 2. It's just
3 and
turn
4.
2. Well, turn 4 is actually 3 and 4 are like the same corner, so that's why I always class this as turn 3, and then turn 4 was the hairpin, and then Parabolica, which is actually this corner that isn't a corner because it's. I suppose it is, but it's straight.
It's just a kink,
so,
isn't it?
Yeah, and then down to the corner called hairpin.
Very original.
So as Ben Brown then goes through hairpin corner, which is also a hairpin. And we've got a few cars actually up ahead. There was Bittencourt. So I think we've got a few cars. Oh no, this is actually for.
So this is third place, but no, that was a lapping.
Oh no, it's a lapping car. Sorry. So I think that's Rogers
possibly
behind potentially.
Rogers. Yeah, we couldn't see what number it said on the side.
And a few other cars being lapped as well.
Yeah.
I think that's Vlar and Ben Winter.
Yeah,
just
Vlar
in front.
was the black one, so that was probably Trofimov in 14th.
Yes.
If I've said that correctly, sorry if I haven't.
Yeah, and then another man who's going to be passed is Ben Winter, who was actually fighting with Bittencourt and all the rest of them about 20 minutes ago. He's now found himself being lapped by the guys.
We just saw him go for
fastest lap
tyres, and there we go, fastest lap. Yeah, he's going for them lap records.
Why not?
Why not? Yeah, he
take away something from this.
He knows his chances are gone. Let's try and just get the quickest lap. Why not?
Absolutely. So we're pretty much on our penultimate lap then. At the moment, we're watching the battle for 9th place still raging on. We've got Chris Wilson and Shamak Glodek then in 9th and 10th place as they come through the Mercedes curve.
And just a bit too far back from Avram to get that Group A cut. I think as long as Avram doesn't make any mistakes, he's just about made it into that Group A there. So
yeah, I think he'll be. I think relieved is the word, because he's been in the wars really in the second half of this race.
He had a hard race. He was right up there into third, or battling for third at least, in the early stages of this race. Went right down to in the teens, I believe, and then got up all the way into the cut of 8th, and hopefully with a minute to go can make it into the Group A.
Absolutely. Then, so as we see, been running slightly wide then. Was Wilson out of that last corner. We'll try and get further up the grid, I think, as the guys will be on their final laps further up the field. And you can see everybody's nicely spread out now, and there's pretty much no battles going on. Stuart French now onto his final lap of the race, and he is led from start to finish, and it's going to be a very deserved win. And we'll see him starting 8th for race 2 of the day. And it's going to be great to see him now, having not really battled anybody in this first race, now to being right in the middle of the pack for race 2.
To see how he can cope with the dirty air that he's not used to as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think his overall pace from this race is going to be...
Looking at best lap times though, when you look at it, he's a couple of tenths off quite a lot of people's lap there. He's just the consistency, and had that gap at the start to just...
He hasn't put one foot wrong, where I think everybody else has had pretty much a slip-up.
That's all it is.
He has not put 1 foot wrong, and he's ended up 15 seconds ahead of the next car after just 55 minutes worth of racing. So really, really dominant display here from Stuart French, who's going to come and, providing he doesn't bin off in the next couple of corners,
through mobile
commentator's curse, here we come. He's going to claim his the first ever win of the Simple Race DTM series.
Don't curse it.
And he makes it through the last couple of corners. Come on, Stuart. Don't let me down. I think he can deserve to pretty much take it just nice and steady from now on and just absolutely coast it. And we're not, unfortunately, not any fireworks like we do in the real DTM, but still, it was fireworks on track anyway, and Stuart French is going to come through the final couple of corners. He's going to have a well-deserved first win in the Simply Race DTM series. Well done to him, and he takes a very well-deserved win. Joe Jessup then we're watching in second place in his BMW, so it's an Audi that wins, followed by a BMW, and then actually Bill Watts was quite close behind Joe Jessup, but Joe Jessup takes second place, and Watts takes the final podium position. Then it's Ben Brown who comes home, a good recovery drive from him after getting hit off at the start of the race. We've got Bittencourt as well, been in the wars slightly, got hit off quite a few times down at 12 at Satch Curve, so good to see him making it through into the final race of the day. Then we got Luke Austin. Luke's provided some great entertainment.
That first half of the race is brilliant.
Yeah, he did some fantastic moves. Overtook 3 cars in one sector at one point, and kept pretty much out of trouble as much as he could, and almost thrown it off at the end there. But well done to Luke, coming home in 6th place. And then Colin Talbot, who started pretty much all the way down in 11th place. He's going to qualify for the A final. He's going to be right happy with that, flashing the lights as he comes across the line. Well done to Colin, coming home in 7th place. And then Avram, a lot has happened to this guy over the last 55 minutes, but
well deserved to get into that top 8.
Absolutely. And then commiserations to these guys coming across the line now. Shamak Glodek and Chris Wilson, those guys will not be progressing through to into the final race of the day, but congratulations for them still for a fantastic race. And the last person to come home in 11th place, Tyson, and in his blue Mercedes, he's had a fantastic afternoon, I'm sure. So that concludes our first race of the day then here at the Simply Race DTM series, and we'll be back shortly for the final race of the day. We'll see Jack Ashton, who thanks to Jack for commentating alongside with me for that
Give it a
first
shot.
race, and you're going to be starting on 6th place. It's going to be interesting. You're going to have the winner from that last race just behind you.
Me.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting,
Give it my
isn't it?
best shot. That's it. Yeah. Probably go for a personal pit stop myself now and get ready to go in the car. So I'll see you
Absolutely. Thanks for that. Cheers, Jack, for joining us on the stream. Obviously, it's great to have Jack having his input, and we'll see him on track shortly. And also, are we going to interview the top 3? Yes, we are. Okay, then. So we'll be a tiny little pause, and then we'll be back for interview of the top 3 drivers from that last race. So we'll be joined back shortly. Right then, so welcome back everybody. We've got our top 3 here from the first race of this evening. It's dark now. When we started it was light, but it's dark now. So it's this evening officially. But a great win for Stuart French. I mean, that was pretty demanding from the start. Obviously, you led from start to finish, but how was that for you?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I won't lie, I was pretty pleased to see second place spin on the second on that hairpin, because that just gave him the lead, and then after that it was just managing it. But yeah, it was just consistent race, and yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, it was very consistent, wasn't it? Because you never really had anybody to overtake at any point apart from back markers, really. So this next race you're going to be starting 8th, which is bang in the middle of the pack. So it's going to be a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the start will be a bit different this time. So yeah, it'll be interesting how this Group A goes. And I mean, the class that we got in the Group A group, you know, there's a lot of fast guys out there. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this race goes.
Absolutely, and then Joe Jessup as well. That was a pretty hectic race, wasn't it? I mean, there was from 2nd to 8th was battles going all around. So how did you try and manage that? Obviously, you got lucky at some stages and unlucky in others. So yeah, how was the race for you?
It was okay. I made quite a lot of mistakes. It was difficult to be consistent every lap, which obviously gave first place a nice lead. And then after that, it was just fending off third, which was okay, but we were both making mistakes, so it was quite hectic. But in the end, I made less mistakes, so.
And how are you finding the tyres as well? We saw some people pitting quite early. I think you pitted very... oh, no. Yeah, Joe pitted before you, but you two were both obviously kind of on the same strategy. So how did you find the tyre wear? Did it drop off massively, or was it okay?
Yeah, it dropped off a bit in the first stint. I didn't really know what I was doing, so I just pitted a lap after you, just cover my bases. And then towards the end of the race, I think the second stint was a bit longer, and the tyres did start to drop off. But I got involved with a few back markers then, so my lap times came right down. But in the end, I think everyone felt the same kind of thing, so it came out okay in the end.
And obviously, Bill, you came third in that one. But I haven't really seen you down at Simply Race before. I haven't really seen you. It's first time here, so that's absolutely unbelievable to come third in this kind of championship. Obviously.
Started down in ninth, and it was just basically working up the numbers. And then I saw Joe. I think, what was the gap? Something like 5 seconds.
Yes.
But then gave him a little bump, and after that I was stuck in third. So.
Yeah, it was obviously pretty tight. We had Bittencourt at one stage, unfortunately getting tangled up. I think Luke Austin was involved as well. It was pretty much the whole 5 cars pretty much came together at one point, didn't it? And then at Sash Curve it all kicked off, and you guys were able to capitalise on that. So managing the traffic now, do you find that it's really difficult to follow other cars as well?
To be honest, I prefer being behind the car than on my own, really. Yeah. It's just, I don't know, mentality gives you something to focus on rather than just hot lapping, basically. So.
Okay, cool. So the aero then isn't really affecting that much?
Well, a little bit, but, as long as you manage it, and,
Perfect. Okay, then. So great. Thanks for you guys talking to us and joining us on the stream. You'll be progressing through to the second race of the day in the fastest one of the lot. So let's see how you guys get on. We'll be expecting big things now that you've just gone and smashed that one out of the park. So we'll be back shortly for our second and final race of the day in the Group A's, the fastest guys of the lot. This is going to be one to watch, so join us for that. And thank you very much all for joining us. And we'll be back very, very shortly, just after a quick break, and everybody will be getting ready for the final race of this evening. Hello then everybody, and welcome back to our final race of the day. This is the Simply Race DTM Championship. This is race number 2, the final race of the day, and the quickest drivers of the day as well. So Francis Harold on the pole then, and he moves away to start the final race of the day. We've actually got the timing screen looks a bit wrong at the moment, so we'll see if that susses itself out, but it's still Harold that is on pole for the moment then, and we'll try and find the standings for this one then as they come through and on their warm-up lap, just warming up their tyres and their brakes, ready for the start of this race. So it is Francis Harold then on the pole position, followed by Luke Bennett and Sean King. A good showing from Sean King on his debut, obviously, in the, well, it's everybody's debut really in the DTM Championship, so try and ignore the towel for the moment then. Unfortunately it's wrong, but it's Harold on the pole position then. Francis Harold, who did a fantastic lap earlier on of a 132.4 to put him on the it's 132.6, sorry, to put him on the pole position. We've got Luke Bennett in second place with Sean King in third, Matt Gooch-Scott in fourth with John Curry, the Simply Race veteran, in fifth place, Jack Ashton, who joined me for race 1 in the commentary booth, in sixth place, and Christian Kelly in seventh. Stuart Francis won the first race of the evening just a few moments ago, about 10 minutes ago, so he's starting in 8th place. So everybody that was the top 8 from that race automatically move up into the grid for the final race and the fastest race of the day. So great to see Stuart French then back into another race for this evening. Joining him is Ben Brown with Chris Wilson, Joe Jessup and a few others that will be joining him on the starting grid. So then as we watch the cars then we can see Colin Talbot just in 14th place there going through, and followed by Avram. So Avram then just finished 8th in the last race, so he'll be moving up into this race, but starting from the back, so potentially may be able to make up some places, bearing in mind that he stays out of trouble then. So we'll head towards the front of the field then. Harold on the pole in his very multicoloured liveried Mercedes C-Class AMG then, as we get ready to go green then. So Bennett on the right hand side, Harold on the left on the pole position. Let's see who gets the best start. The lights go on, the revs rise, and away they go, and that was potentially a jump start from Bennett there as they got away. He certainly went a lot earlier than the rest of the field and potentially maybe in for a penalty. It's Bennett that leads though into turn 1 with Harold in second place and Sean King in third in the black and green car. I think we may have some carnage further back potentially. Oh no, everybody seems to get through cleanly, so it's okay. Sean King then on the attack in this dark green and black car then as he comes through turn 3, and these top 3 have definitely left the rest of the field. It's Curry and Gooch-Scott fighting further back for that 4th and 5th position then, but we're watching the top 3 for the moment as they come into the hairpin. Will we see any drama like we did in the first race of the evening about an hour or so ago? They're breaking into the hairpin then, and the top 3 get through at least very cleanly. The back section do as well. That was a good move there from the Mercedes. I think that's Kelly then in the grey and green Mercedes then moving up to 5th place, so a good move from him. Actually it was Jack Ashton, it looks like, from our computer screens. We've got a battle for the lead now, so this is Harold versus Bennett, and Harold gets a tap from Sean King and unfortunately gets spun round, so Sean King potentially might have to give up that place. He keeps on going, but unfortunately for Harold he's been spat all the way back down the field. He goes from, well, started on the pole, he's now all the way down in 11th place. We've actually got the tower corrected now, so this is great. Thanks for that, Grant. So we can see all the positions now, but it's a bit of a messy start then from the front, and unfortunately for Harold he's dropped down all the way from pole to 10th place, so we'll see. We'll have to get see him trying to move back up the order. He was extremely fast in practice and qualifying, so let's see what he can do now, and he'll have to definitely show what he's worth, having been dropped down all through the field. So it's Bennett that leads, it's Gooch-Scott that leads, sorry, from Ashton, from King, from Curry, from Kelly and French. as they come through the first couple of corners. French has made up some places actually. He's made up a few positions, having won the first race of the day, but it's all clean from the front few guys. Sean King then trying to make the move, potentially going into the lead of the race. It's difficult. Gidge Scott holds the lead of the race just for the moment then, and the two Camsport cars squabbling against each other. They really want to be working together, as Jack Ashton now going for second place. Then Jack, who joined us in the commentary booth for the first one, he's in the grey Mercedes on the right hand side of the Audi, trying to go through into second place and split these two Camsport carts up into the braking zone. He goes, it's very, very tight indeed. The car's struggling to get slowed down, and there's a few bunching further back as fifth place. That was Kelly there, just trying to avoid some contact with John Curry that kind of shut the door on him a tiny bit there, but managed to get away with it. So it's all action at the front then as they come down into the braking zone of the Mercedes corner for the second time then, and Sean King throwing that car around. You can see how much steering lock he's trying to put in just to get those potential tyres up to temperature, as well as trying to just stay out of trouble and try and keep hold of the lead of the race. But Jack Ashton is really charging now, going from 6th on the grid. He's trying to go for the lead of the race. He's squabbling with Matt Goodger-Scott, but all these three absolutely bunched together then as they come through Satch Curve and then heading on to the final section of the circuit. Jack's looking here, there and everywhere to try and find a way past Matt Goodger-Scott. He's looking quite racy, is Jack Ashton, the MG Metro driver. And onto another lap we go then, but a potential jump start from the leader as well. That was Francis Harold, so we might be looking at a potential penalty for Harold. He's now down in 7th place. You can see him just in the back shot, that very orange Audi, as they go into the braking zone. And Jack Ashton, though, looking to try and take the lead of this race, up 5 positions already, and started 6th on the grid, did Jack, and he's looking to try and now go for that first place and try and pull away from the rest of the field. But Matt Goodger-Scott is not going to give this one up easily. They come into the braking zone, into the hairpin. Let's see what happens here. They both brake at pretty much identical times. They're going to try and get the cut back. There's Sean King on the inside there. Make sure they don't make contact, boys. They're all nice and cleanly through, but it's super tight between the top 5. And we've got Matt Goodger-Scott, followed by Jack Ashton, Sean King in 4th, John Curry. Oh no, Sean King in 3rd, sorry, John Curry in 4th, and then French in 5th as Sean King goes for a move on Jack Ashton. That was a bit of a lunge, but the Camsport car gets back up into that second place. That was a bit unexpected. I didn't expect Jack to, I don't think Jack expected it as much as I did, but as much as he tried to hold it off, it didn't work, and now he's down into 3rd place once again. He's all over the back, and trying to make a move back up the inside again, takes that second place back. There's a bit of squabbling, and then Sean King tries to make the undercut and go back on the inside, but I think Jack's got it covered. There's a bit of tangling between the cars in 4th and 5th further back, but it's still Jack Ashton who holds that second place and takes it back from he's sliding. Sean, watch out. Sean just about holds that slide there, but he's got to give room now for French, who comes through, won the first race earlier on. He's now through up into 4th position, or is he? They go side by side through turn 1. That's very, very close indeed. But Sean King now has got a whole bunch of cars like an angry beast trying to get out of the hive and into the braking zone. We've got the Mercedes diving up the inside. We've got a few other cars making moves further back. It's very difficult to commentate on all these cars as everybody's squabbling against each other. But from 5th onwards, then it's kind of settled down a tiny bit. As we're looking at the cars a bit further back, this is 6th place Camsport with Christian Kelly, who's squabbling, but now we've got a battle for 3rd place. Sean King is under pressure from Francis Harold, who's gone slightly wide and shows Sean King he's off the road, he's on the grass, and unfortunately he's going to lose him potentially about 8 or so places. But unfortunately, and he's not happy about that either, he lost about 4 places there or so. But going into the braking zone, these two make contact. It's very, very difficult. Come on, boys. Try and make it through this one. So French then moved up into 3rd place. So French is on an absolute mission at the moment after winning our second race of the day. He's all fired up. He knows exactly what to do, and he's got the hang of this circuit. But unfortunately, Sean King has dropped back all the way to 7th place and was battling for the lead earlier on. Jack Ashton, in fact, also is trying for the lead of the race behind Matt Goodger-Scott. They're only 0.3 between them, and Harold's off the road. So unfortunately, he's dropping all the way down the order. And that's really, really unfortunate for Harold. Then started on the pole. Unfortunately, he's absolutely nowhere now. So Francis Harold having the absolute nightmare start. And unfortunately for him, it's all come undone pretty early in this race. He's got 48 minutes to make it up, to be fair. And French has gone down as well. I missed that, apologies. But French has gone down. He had an amazing start as well. He was up to 3rd place. So French unfortunately coming unstuck as well. We've got a battle for the lead though. Matt Goodger-Scott and Jack Ashton, and we can see on our screens at the moment it's Jack trying to put the pressure on Matt Goodger-Scott. Matt Goodger-Scott at the moment seems to be absorbing it pretty well as they come towards the hairpin. Jack looked a bit closer than he has on the last couple of laps though. He's been using the toe to his advantage. The two Mercedes go wheel to wheel down to the straight into the braking zone. They're both braking at exactly the same point. Very good symmetrical braking now, I'm going to call it. And as Jack gets on the curb and unfortunately just wasn't managed to capitalise on Matt Goodger-Scott there, but fantastic racing from these two. A lot of respect given from either driver. And down into Mercedes-Benz curve in their Mercedes-Benz as they head through turn 8 now. And back into the stadium section, it seems to have calmed down, but at the back as well, everybody seems a bit more spread out than what they were, but that was a hectic couple of laps. And to start the final race of the day off, there was a few bits of drama going on there, and we didn't manage to capture every single moment of it, but we got a good idea of what was going on. But Matt Goodger-Scott that leads then from Jack Ashton, who's looking very racy at the moment. Christian Kelly, who started... Where did Christian Kelly start? He started in 7th, he's now up to 3rd. And John Curry, who stayed in 4th after qualifying in 5th. So moving up one spot, he's done a nice job of just holding station amongst the carnage. And then Joe Jessup, who started, I believe, in 9th, is all the way up into 5th with Colin Talbot in 6th. He was 11th, qualified in the qualified 11th for the B race. So he's went all the way through the B race, qualified in 11th, got up to 6th, and now he's in 6th again in the A race. So it really shows these the guys that have already had the experience of the first race of this afternoon are now displaying it in the second race of the day. We got Bittencourt up to 7th as well after qualifying. Where did he qualify? He was definitely in the B final earlier on, so it's great to see him move up to the A final. And Christian Kelly there in that black Mercedes just in the back shot. It's a Mercedes 1, 2, 3, potentially 4 as well, as John Curry's in Mercedes as well, so it's a 1, 2, 3, 4 for Mercedes. At the moment, Jack Ashton into the back of Matt Goodger-Scott then as they come through Mercedes corner, and that was really close there. It didn't really affect Matt Goodger-Scott that much, but it certainly showed him that Jack Ashton is going to be as late as he can on the brakes. Jack was saying how he was struggling on the brakes earlier on. They seem to be very on and off for him, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, but unfortunately he's just trying to go around the outside of Satch curve. Can you do that, Jack? He's going to try it anyway, and unfortunately doesn't get it done, but tries to get the cut back on Matt Goodger-Scott, going through side by side through the S's, and then into the final corner. There's going to be contact there, and Jack gets sideways. He's going to try and hold it, and Jack's been very aggressive at this stage of play. He's hit Matt Goodger-Scott about 3 times during this lap. I think Matt's going to not be best pleased about that, but Jack Ashton trying everything he can. It was a brave move to try and grab the outside of Satch curve, but unfortunately did not get it done, and we'll have to just chill out a tiny bit. He's got 45 minutes to go, has Jack. And maybe worth just sitting back on Matt. He seems quick enough to try and preserve some tyres and attack him later in the phase of the stint. But for now, it's pretty interesting up the front. So then we're having a look at these two just making contact there. That was this is Bittencourt then. We've got a replay actually, and unfortunately getting T-boned then and spat out by, who was that? Do you know? By Watts. So those guys had a great race at in the first race of the day in race B, but unfortunately those two came together eventually, and Watts is down in 10th place now with Bittencourt in 15th, so really affected those guys' progress in this race. Jack Ashton again, but into the back of Matt Goodger-Scott. I think Matt's going to get a bit tired of that, you know, of Jack Ashton going it slightly, just giving him a bit of a nudge. We should call him the new nudger now that Rob Fowler isn't here. But Jack then trying to make moves into the lead of the race, but he's being very aggressive in doing so. Matt Goodger-Scott, normally wise to the situation, he's going to try and go side by side again into Satch curve, and these two they've banged cars about 5 times in the last 2 laps, so they don't want too much contact. Either one of them's going to span round, but in the background, look, Christian Kelly is making gains on these two, and it looks like it's going to be very close. It's going to be a 3-way battle for the lead of this race. It might even get John Curry, who seems to be closing up as well, as Jack seems to be getting a bit impatient behind Matt Goodger-Scott in that Camsport car. Through turn 1 they go again onto their 5th lap, and Jack Ashton is still trying to find a way past Matt Goodger-Scott into the braking zone into turn 3. Everybody pretty symmetrical through there, And nicely done. It's Sean King with the fastest lap of the race at the moment in, where is he? All the way down in 11th, unfortunately. So, unfortunately, it's all come undone for Sean King after a strong start to the race. He was battling with Jack Ashton, who's on screen at the moment, but unfortunately that's all come undone. Bennett's now got the fastest lap of the race, in fact, so all the way down in 13th. He's trying to make up for his bad start. Christian Kelly now all over the back of Jack Ashton, gives him a slight nudge just in the hairpin to try and hurry him up a tiny bit. We've also got Joe Jessup, who was second in our first race of the day. He's now up into 5th place, so he's making huge gains as well. Going to be looking to try and get on the back of these leaders. Jack Ashton again almost touching the back of Matt Goodger-Scott. He's been so late on the brakes, this Jack, and he seems pretty confident to do so, but he doesn't want to end up spinning Matt Goodger-Scott around and potentially getting a penalty. So let's see if they can try and just keep it up. Jack goes wide onto the marbles and into the braking zone again. It's the first time he hasn't touched Matt Goodger-Scott in this corner in the last 3 laps, so it seems to be making a bit of progress. So then as Jack Ashton tries to follow Matt Goodger-Scott, we've got Christian Kelly and Curry closing up behind them. So let's see if these guys can make gains on the Camsport driver, doing an excellent job in first place at the moment, trying to hold off the relentless Jack Ashton as they go on to the 6th lap. Then all Mercedes 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the first BMW is Joe Jessup in 5th place then. So it's looking good for the Mercedes manufacturers at the moment, at least, as Bennett pops in another fastest lap of the race. This is Colin Talbot and potentially Stuart French, yes. So, what happened to Stuart there? Oh, no, he just got absolutely tapped, and unfortunately Colin got span round there. Not a lot he could do, and into the barriers quite heavily. He just got, he didn't square the car up enough, unfortunately, and Stuart tapped the rear of him. And Matt Goodger-Scott as well. Oh, they're all wiggling about, in fact, so it looks like the rear tyres might be getting a tiny bit hot, as Joe Jessup as well, struggling to get the car rotated through the hairpin. And so these guys then hard on the brakes into the stadium sections, and who can make the best out of this phase of the race. It looks like Jack Ashton certainly has the pace to try and get past Matt Goodger-Scott and potentially start to edge away, but you've got to remember Christian Kelly just behind them as well, and never rule out John Curry. On his day he can be mental fast, so let's see if either one of them two as well can try and interrupt this battle for second place and make it a 4-way battle for the lead. It's been some good racing so far, as JR Sim Racing says. Shame about Luke. It is, unfortunately, he's dropped quite far back now. Luke Austin, at least, is down in 13th place, so unfortunate for him. But also unfortunate for Luke Bennett, who's dropped down. So we've got 2 Lukes. In fact, we've got Luke Bennett and Luke Austin in 11th and 13th. Unfortunately, it's been bad luck for both of them, really. It's a shame. But let's see if those two can make their way back up the order. We've got 40 minutes left, 15 minutes into this race, and it's almost calmed down at the front, as we've got Matt Goodger-Scott leading the way for Camsport with Jack Ashton in 2nd place, Christian Kelly in 3rd, with John Curry with his lights on at the rear of this train, and these guys have got quite a substantial gap back to 4th place as Christian Kelly goes for a move up the inside of Jack Ashton and tags the race leader as well. So Matt Goodger-Scott, they're all going off. In fact, it's going to be John Curry that leads the race. Everybody's just gone absolutely mental and thrown it away. Unfortunately, Christian Kelly could not get the car stopped, tapped Matt Goodger-Scott, who then in turn, I think, tapped Jack Ashton, who spent them all into a spin. Joe Jessup has capitalised massively from that. So John Curry, he went into that corner in 4th place and came out in the lead of the race. What happened there? That was absolutely mental, wasn't it?
I think Race Control will take a massive look at the dive bomb.
Yeah, from Christian Kelly. Yeah, that was. And we were saying about the brakes being quite on and off. I think he just got his braking slightly too late. But when you do, you try and hit it as hard as you can, and it just doesn't seem to work. You need a real progressive press on the brake just to build up the momentum in the brakes. Can you try and get a replay of that as well, potentially?
Yeah, I'll bring one up. I'll take a little look.
If you can, that would be great, Grant, to see what actually happens to Jack Ashton there, because I don't think he actually got tapped. He may have done, providing that he ended up in the wall. But we'll have another look at it. But John Curry, luckiest man alive at the moment, and leading the way quite happily, but he's got the man who caused all that kerfuffle, Christian Kelly, bearing down on him.
Be very careful what you say, Callum.
Well, I'm being very careful.
When you brought up Bittencourt having a great race, that's when he stacked it.
Oh, yeah. Oh no. Okay. Come on, John. You can do this. It's okay. So we're going to get a replay shortly anyway, but we've got Joe Jessup as well, up 7 places into 3rd place. So he's going to have potentially 2 podiums today if he just keeps his nose clean for the moment. So this is on board with Jack Ashton. You're going to see a BMW sending it down the inside. Sorry, it's a Mercedes actually. So takes out Jack to start off with. Then Kelly goes into the wall. Jack actually gets on the power and gets spun around. You can see John Curry just going through all the middle of that. Unfortunately, Matt Scott ended up getting T-boned and into the wall as well. So it was just Christian came in so fast then, and that was a total wipeout if I ever did see one. And unfortunately, Matt Scott dropped all the way down to 5th and got spun around. The leader was just temporarily off the track just as we joined him back there. He was 4 wheels in the kitty litter and managed to save it, but that was not ideal from the race leader. And he's going to be feeling the pressure now as he's got Christian Kelly and Joe Jessup behind him. I'm sure Christian Kelly's going to get a penalty for that because it was a bit... There we go, just to say that, he dives into the pit lane. So that releases Joe Jessup then, who came 2nd in our first race of the day. Let's see if he can try and double that up and with a 2nd podium. But he's got Jack Ashton now, who will be, I don't think, best pleased with what just happened there, unfortunately. And he, potentially could have capitalised on that, but instead of taking just Matt Scott out, he took out Jack Ashton for good measure. So Christian Kelly then serves his penalty, goes all the way down. He's still dropping down the order, down to 10th place, joined with Colin Talbot, who unfortunately had a contact at exactly the same corner. It seems that hairpin's the one that's causing all the controversy today, but luckily we've got Jack Ashton actually into the back of Joe Jessup trying to get that car stopped, and Joe Jessup there just, well, not really slowing up but just trying to get the car stopped, and it's very difficult to do so. And Jack Ashton for the 5th time into the back of another car, going into that hairpin, and again we'll make that 6. So I think Jack's going to definitely get some warnings about contact because he's absolutely firing it in on people. Obviously he doesn't intend to, but he's just going for it. So I don't think Joe Jessup will be best pleased about that in his BMW, but at least it's brought that Mercedes 1, 2, 3, 4 to an end, and we've got another manufacturer in the top 3 places. And Joe Jessup actually goes wide at Satch Curve, and that's allowed Jack Ashton to get alongside him and potentially back into 2nd place. They're still side by side coming into the final 2 corners. Joe Jessup keeps it nice and tight. Jack Ashton tries to go all the way around the outside. If he can do that, it'll be impressive. Jack holding on the brake through this corner and actually round the outside gets the move done, and hopefully they won't tangle into turn 1. They don't, and Jack Ashton takes the long way round and into 2nd place. Now he's got some clean air. Let's see if he can chase after the leader, John Curry, who's actually got quite a sizable lead now. He's got a huge lead, but Joe Jessup coming back at Jack Ashton into the braking zone. We've got Matt Scott trying to go around the outside of Joe Jessup now. He's been done left, right and centre, and Matt Scott now moves up around the outside into 3rd place. So Joe Jessup, in the space of a few corners, has gone from 2nd to 4th, and both moves were around the outside of him.
Joe Jessup's line in turn 1 is incredibly tight when you compare it to the other guys at the top. He must be on the verge of track limits, though. It almost looks like he's fully in the Astro. I'm sure Will will be keeping an eye on it, making sure he's got 2 wheels on the racing track itself. But it just looks very tight, and it does look a little bit faster through turn 1 as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you were just mentioning then, as Jack Ashton actually goes wide at Mercedes-Benz then, and unfortunately, well, it doesn't seem to lose a place, but Matt Scott is now right back with him. I wonder if Matt's going to start giving him a few taps now just to show him what it feels like. There's Jack Ashton nice and quick through that right-hander, and Matt Scott all the way out to the kitty litter on the outside. Joe Jessup's going to try and make a move into Satch Curve, doesn't manage to do so, and Scott holds on to that 3rd place, but Joe Jessup there, ever the opportunist, was trying to get up the inside, but there just wasn't the room. And let's see if there's any more penalties to come from track limits or anything of the sort. We've got Will Trigurtha, who is a Ginetta Junior Open GT, FIA GT absolute star, racing a Audi GT3 this year. So let's see if his decisions will be, I'm sure, the right ones. Of course, I'm not going to dumb Will down, as he's a very, very quick driver indeed and knows the rule book, I'm sure, inside out. After driving in Ginetta Juniors, he's probably used to all this shenanigans. So these guys then, in their 550 horsepower DTM German touring car racers, going towards, well, I don't know what lap we're on now, but we've got 33 minutes to go. We're pretty much a third of the way through the race. Jack Ashton heavy on the brakes. He's got to try and catch John Curry now, and John Curry's got a 5-second lead. You can see him off in the distance, about to turn into the right-hander just there, and the whole train starts to form behind them. We've also got Sean King, who got tapped out earlier on in the race. He's looking to try and make some progress back into the top 5, so he potentially will be catching who won the man who won the second race of the day, well, the first race of the day here, in fact, is Stuart French. So French currently in 5th place now after starting in 8th, so he's moved up a good 3 places, and Jessup moved up 6 places, so he's done very, very well indeed to capitalise on that in his BMW.
At one point, Sean King was in 13th place and off the track at Sachs Curve, so it's actually quite phenomenal to see him just 9 seconds off of the race lead. Obviously, there's been a lot of dramatics which have closed that gap up quite a lot, but he has been fighting his way back through, and fair play to him. He's had to overtake quite a lot of cars to get back into that position. So let's hope now that this is a reset for him. Let's see what else he can do with the rest of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Sean on his day can be mental fast as well, and especially I think he's a bit fired up now after that contact earlier, so I think that he's going to be absolutely mental quick, and we may see some heroics as he's kind of almost got nothing to lose now, and try and get back into those podium positions. Colin Talbot has actually moved up to 9th now after a few calamities. Kelly's obviously served his penalty, gone down to 11th, so he's dropped out of contention for the win in this race, pretty sure. But Joe Jessup as well, running a tiny bit wide there, holding the brakes quite long as well on the back of that. Sean King actually bouncing over the curb, just as I said that about Joe Jessup. He's right under attack from our race 1 winner, down into turn number 8. Let's see if these can both get the cars stopped. Joe Jessup has to yield to Stuart French, and he goes through into 4th place now, started 8th on the grid, up to 4th. So a good drive from him. He's definitely got his track time today as Stuart French after winning the first race as well, and then joining us for this second race of the day, and he's proving his worth. Into the braking zone of Satch Curve they go. The banked long left-hander, it just seems to go on and on and on before they accelerate out and through this very tight section. We did see 3 wide through that section in the first race, but unfortunately it didn't really last for very long. John Curry then, as we've got Matt Gooch-Scott coming into the pits now. So Matt Gooch-Scott then, I'm guessing this is pretty much scheduled now as we're getting into the pit stop phase with 30 minutes to go then. So Gooch-Scott looking to try and make an undercut potentially, get on some fresh tyres and put some really good laps in. We've got Jack Ashton closing that gap to John Curry as well, so it's not over for the win just yet. John Curry got extremely lucky with what happened earlier on and the calamities down at the hairpin, with Jack Ashton and Matt Gooch-Scott being taken out of the lead by 3rd place man Christian Kelly. But unfortunately for them, it's worked in John Curry's favour, and now he's leading the race quite comfortably, but it is coming down. So the gap was 5 seconds, it's now down to 4.6. And if he can just keep up that momentum, we've got the 2 Camsport boys together, so Colin Talbot giving room to Matt Gooch-Scott, who's just coming out the pit lane on fresh tyres, so he's going to be absolutely quick. Actually, we've got 3 cars. We've got 4 cars, actually, all Camsport cars in a line. So we've got Matt Gooch-Scott all the way down to Ben Brown in 10th, and these boys better not be fighting each other because they're actually teammates. Going down to the hairpin then, Matt Gooch-Scott, we're expecting him to break away slightly. Christian Kelly as well, after his penalty, is just behind the number 8 place car of Colin Talbot then. And we've got Mercedes running wide. I believe that's Mr. Bill Watts, I believe, just running wide there in his Mercedes. So luckily he's got back on track, no harm done. Ben Brown then trying to capitalise, and we've got Harold, who actually started on pole in this race, who's now down in 11th place after having a bit of a messy start. He finds himself in 10th place behind this Camsport train, and let's see if he can try and find a way through past Ben Brown. They all break into Satch Curve together, all nice and steady for the moment, and then accelerating out. So let's see if Harold can make up for some of that lost ground earlier on. It's just a wall of Camsport cars in front of him for the moment. He actually bails and goes into the pit lane, thinks better of it. And looking at the traffic up ahead of him, I'd say that's a very good idea indeed. We've now got Christian Kelly and Colin Talbot actually giving way to Christian Kelly there, and going wide as well to try and let Ben Brown through. It was a bit extreme going on trying to just let him through there. We could have just let him by at the next couple of corners, but Colin decided to not waste any more time and get Ben Brown ahead of him. So then as we're watching the third place car, this is Stuart French, the winner from our first race of this evening earlier on, and dominant display. He didn't have to think about another car, he didn't have to overtake another car. He just got on with his business and won by around 15 seconds. He's had to work a tiny bit harder in this one though, and fend off from some of the likes of Sean King and Joe Jessup, who incidentally was racing in the first race as well. So great to see so many drivers here today at the Simply Race DTM Championship, a first round as well, so great to see so many turn out for the first round. And even if you want to get involved, get on to the Simply Race Facebook page and you can have a look at what championships we've got running at the moment. We've got the Simply Race Formula Championship, we've got this new DTM Championship, both started round 1 today. We've also got some other championships coming on over the winter, so keep an eye out on the Facebook stream for Friday Night Unlimited offers, as well as special Christmas offers as well that I'm sure are going to be coming up now that our Christmas tree is well illuminated in the Simply Race facility. So then Matt Goodger-Scott in 7th place and Sean King just leaving the pit lane, another Camsport car dropping down into potentially 9th place then. So we've got Ben Brown, Colin Talbot all potentially bailing into the pit lane now. Then we got Matt Goodger-Scott all the way up into 5th after his pit stop and looking to make some gains on those fresh tyres. In fact, he's just done the fastest lap of the race, a 1:33.335. He's really pushing on now and trying to make gains into Bennett, French and potentially Jack Ashton as well. So Jack Ashton not really closing up as much on John Curry as we were expecting there, and John Curry looking set at the moment to potentially be in control of this race and leading after the dramas that we had down at the hairpin on lap 7. We've got quite a few cars squabbling for positions here actually. We've got Ben Brown all over the curb, we've got Joe Jessup as well in his BMW just seeming to have the rear end of that car a bit out of control. Talking of out of control, Ben Brown going through that corner very tight indeed, and then the BMW trying to just fend him off as they come through the Mercedes bend, and I was very tight indeed. You can see the 2 black marks that Ben Brown laid on the road as he was sliding through at about 130 miles an hour, and as I'm just saying goodbye to Shamak Glodek. Thank you for a very good race, you did very well. It was all right. That's all right. See you later. So as Shamak just heads off then, and we carry on with this battle then. So we've got a few cars in the pit lane now. So that's our race leader, in fact, John Curry, exiting the pit lane then, and that's allowed French to get ahead. And oh no, sorry, that was Bennett in fact just out in the lead. So that's Ashton now out in the lead and potentially going a bit longer on his tyres, and see if he can make up some inroads into John Curry's lead of about 4.4 seconds or so. We've got Bennett in 2nd place in that very McLaren-esque orange and blue liveried Audi, just coming through down into the hairpin now. Bennett's been pretty much keeping out of trouble a tiny bit. He did start on 2nd place and he's now back up 2nd place, but he did get knocked down the order earlier on. He's yet to make a pit stop, so and there's our provisional race leader, I would say, after these 2 in front of him made his stops. John Curry then out in 3rd position, and no real cars ahead of him around, or Matt Goodger-Scott is behind though. So let's see, and he has closed up the gap somewhat. If you can imagine that Matt Goodger-Scott was how far behind John Curry in fact, because Jack Ashton was the closest car to him. There's now only 2 seconds between John Curry and Matt Goodger-Scott. So Matt Goodger-Scott,
I think it was 7 seconds when he came in the pit.
So Goodger-Scott,
much less than that now.
Yeah, so Goodger-Scott's been pounding in some laps. Obviously his tyres are going to be slightly more worn now than Curry's are, so let's see if Curry can try and extend that gap out. But Matt Goodger-Scott started very well, led for a good half of the race, and now is potentially in contention to come into 2nd. We've got Bennett now in the pit lane. He's going to drop down the order. He slams onto the brakes and releases John Curry back into 2nd place then. And let's see what Curry can do now as he goes through turn 1, followed by Matt Goodger-Scott, who's absolutely on a mission, it seems, in that Camsport Mercedes, and moves up into 3rd place. So let's see the gap then. It's 20 seconds between Jack Ashton and John Curry. We'll obviously have a mandatory pit stop in this race, so we can't really see Jack Ashton going all the way without a stop. But I'm sure he'll want to change his tyres soon as well, because his tyres are going to be absolutely mullered by the end of the stint after all the drama that he's had and how hard he's been pushing. Sean King has made his way up to 5th place, and this is after, I believe, he's made a pit stop as well. So potentially for Sean, he might be on for still a top 3 result here. Let's see if he can try and get past Stuart French, who is our winner from the earlier race. we've got two cars side by side as well. That's Christian Kelly and Joe Jessup then into the hairpin, and Christian Kelly actually making the braking zone this time and getting past Joe Jessup. That's how you do it. And there we go then. So Joe Jessup then moves down in 7th place, Christian Kelly up to 6th, and then just with Bill Watts just behind them.
That's quite interesting because I don't think Kelly's pit for fresh tyres yet, but Jessup has, because Kelly had his penalty earlier.
Yes, so potentially he's past a car that's on fresh tyres then.
Yeah, a bit odd that one, although it looks like Jessup's
coming
straight back behind him now. So maybe Jessup made a bit of an error on the previous lap. Kelly just had a hell of a run, but as Kelly
there we go. Yeah,
flies off the road, outbrakes himself.
So Joe Jessup then gets past Christian Kelly. Then it seems like Christian's tyres are absolutely gone, and I'm pretty sure he heads for the pit lane. There we go. So Christian then, after his penalty earlier on, into the pit lane. That is Sean King just trying to follow very closely. Jack Ashton has made a pit stop, and Matt Goodschop has completely jumped him. So Jack Ashton pitted second, came out in third, has been absolutely done over by the man he was given quite a bit of grief to earlier on, Matt Goodschop, and definitely not over for the lead of this race. We've got Curry now, so he's actually extended his gap somewhat, and because Jack's now on fresher tyres, he may be able to close in on Matt Goodschop, but it's looking good for Curry now, really, isn't it?
Looking great for Curry, and also look how much closer Sean is now. He's right with those guys as well, but Jack's probably going to be extremely frustrated to see the rear of that Cam Sport once again. Are we going to see some more bumper-to-bumper action?
More nudges, I think so. Obviously, John Curry is, how lucky he was in that situation where all three cars, the top three, just basically couldn't coordinate the hairpin. And Jack Ashton actually goes off there as he comes through that section of the circuit. Is he going to make it through into Satch Curve? How did he do that? How did he get that car stopped onto the tarmac again? And then with no dirt, if that happened in real life, the dirt on your tyres would literally just throw you into the barrier. Luckily, it's sim racing, so it doesn't really work that way. And Jack still probably has dirty tyres now, so you can see him wiggling about a tiny bit. But that was a huge moment, and did well to save it, to be fair, because on these cars on the grass, they don't really work very well. So as they are very, very low indeed. So he did some grass cutting for the Hockenheim circuit. I'd send the invoice into the circuit officials, as the Cam Sport car goes a tiny bit deep into turn 3, and then Jack Ashton is right back on him again. So this isn't over for the middle place on the podium. Then second place is up for grabs, and Matt Goodschop is not going to give it up easily, especially after the grief that Jack Ashton was giving him earlier on. And Curry's got that gap out to nearly 6 seconds now, so Curry's really pushing on and doing very, very well up front and leading the way. It looks like the race is his to lose now, as we've got a fantastic battle coming up for not only second place, but it looks like the last place on the podium as well. These two are catching up. Stuart French and Sean King are going to definitely be in contention, still points away from these two guys on the first race of the season. Jack Ashton then looking very racy now as he's on the back of Matt Goodschop. Let's make sure they don't make contact as they come through into the stadium section. You can see how many fans, virtual fans of course, are out watching these guys, especially joining you guys at home. And through Satch Curve they go, nice and tight from both of them. A bit of curb from Jack, and then accelerating out on exit. It's nice and smooth from these two guys. Cam Sport driver doing very well indeed. Jack Ashton back into the pit lane. I wonder what's happened there. So Jack Ashton then into the pit lane. Unfortunately, he's potentially got a penalty. I'm not quite sure there, but Jack Ashton completely, unfortunately, thrown this race away, and it's now Matt Goodschop who's going to be, Stuart French is going to be picking up the main place. He's got up into third place, but Jack Ashton, not exactly sure what happened there. He may have had a stop-go, may potentially speeding in the pit lane. I'm not quite sure.
Potentially speeding, but the lines are pretty clear here. It's not like Jack to make a mistake like that. Potentially he's run a bit too wide at turn 1 a couple of times. Maybe that's why he made that error going into the stadium section of the circuit. Maybe it was frustration from receiving that penalty.
I know what that's like as well. You're right.
Plays right into French's and King's hand. King could now potentially see a podium.
Absolutely, and you've got to remember this could be a double Camsport podium as well, because we've got Matt Goodger-Scott in second and Sean King in fourth. So if Sean King can try and edge his way past Stuart French, who hasn't really, well, in the first race didn't really race anybody. He was pretty much on his own. So let's see if he can try and make a double Camsport podium, and Camsport have been going for quite a long time now. They're one of the most predominant teams in the Simply Race Championships ever, so it'll be great to see two cars on the podium in the first round of this new series of the Simply Race DTM Championship. So as they come through the final sector, then we've got 18 minutes on the clock, and it looks like John Curry is set to take quite commanding win in this first round of the season. We've got Matt Goodger-Scott in second place trying to chase him down, but at the moment you can see how close their two best lap times, 2 milliseconds between Matt Goodger-Scott and John Curry. So Matt Goodger-Scott then not actually with the fastest lap time. I was going to say that without looking, but it's Harold actually. So Francis Harold, the man who started and put the car on pole in qualifying, currently in 9th place unfortunately, but he's done a 1:32.499. So very, very quick lap from him, but he's the only one to, well, he's only got a purple sector in the last sector, in fact. Everybody else, so we've got a purple from Ben Brown in sector 1, and then a purple from Luke Bennett, who's actually moved up to 6th place, so he's done quite well there, thanks to Jack Ashton as well, dropping quite farther back. There he is, in fact, so that's Harold, who started on the pole position, now down in 9th place, so he's going to be absolutely kicking himself after this race. He's going to go away and watch this race back and see where it all went wrong, but it was pretty obvious from the get-go, obviously, when they had that contact, and just couldn't get the car, well, it was Christian Kelly who couldn't get the car stopped, but Francis Harold unfortunately dropped all the way down the order. So then just Jack Ashton's made another mistake there. What's he doing, Jack? What are you doing? And unfortunately, he's just, well, he's close to Ben Brown there as well on exit. We'll try and see what happened to Jack there. But we've got two cars now side by side, Harold and Bill Watts. This is for 7th place, and Bill Watts making the move on Harold then as they come through the stadium section, both giving each other nice racing room side by side, and Harold goes all the way around the outside of turn 10 there, and really nicely done by the British driver. And Bill Watts as well, just getting slightly on the marbles as he comes out of turn 11 through Satch Curve now, and the Mercedes starts to just pull away from the Audi ever so slightly. Very, very close indeed between these two guys, and we've got Francis Howard now up in 7th place. If he can take something away from that, that's a fantastic move. And unfortunately for him, though, it's just been a race to forget for him, I suppose, as qualifying on the pole. He was expected really to lead this race and have quite a dominant victory, but unfortunately it's not worked out like that. Matt Goodger-Scott is still 7.5 seconds up the road, and it looks like Jack Ashton has stopped, unfortunately, so not exactly sure what's happened to Jack. He doesn't look like it's gone well for him, unfortunately, so we might see Jack, our first DNF of the day. Sad face, it's very sad.
Potentially, maybe there's an issue with his pod. It might explain that strange move into the hairpin. I watched it, and it looked like he braked at the right point, but the car just didn't slow down at all. It's really odd.
Might be a pedal issue, potentially. Very rare indeed, but it does happen. You know, it's anything physical can break. So, unfortunately for Jack Ashton, I think that's the first time we've ever seen a DNF because potentially a mechanical, but we don't really know yet, to be fair.
We don't know, no.
So unfortunately for Jack, it's just not gone that way. Matt Goodger-Scott very wide, and that's allowed Stuart French right into the back of him now as he comes through, and Stuart French has got a fantastic run out the last corner. He's going to be trying going inside into turn 1. It ain't going to do it, and they're both very, very close on the brakes, but Matt Goodger-Scott there just getting all crossed up in the final 2 corners, and unfortunately for him, it's not worked out. But still, he holds that 2nd place, and he's got another Stuart French at least, he's got another Camsport driver just behind him in the form of Sean King, who's all fired up from, unfortunately, having a bit of a nightmare start to this race in the Audi. So those guys looking to try and capitalise and get back into the top 3 places. So then Sean King tries to make a move on Stuart French. They don't manage to do so. They keep line astern as they come through the hairpin very, very close, so you could almost put well, brick between each one. I was going to say a piece of paper, but it wasn't really that close, was it? So we'll go for a brick, as it's nice and sturdy as between those cars. And into the braking zone they go into turn 8, and the Audi seems to be the quickest out of these three at the moment. Matt Goodger-Scott seems to be struggling a bit with his tyres. He did pit a tiny bit earlier and did manage to get out ahead of Jack Ashton as well, but unfortunately his tyres might be feeling a bit more worn than the other two behind him now, and he's going to have to try and make some mega moves to try and keep these two behind. Obviously Stuart French fired up from his first win in the race we saw just before this one in the B race, so great to see him starting in 8th, moving all the way up to a potential podium place. He's in a podium place at the moment as it stands, and I'm sure he'll be happy with that. A double podium for him on his first, well, proper full. Let's get my words out, shall I? His first ever full championship campaign. That's what I was trying to employ. So as the Audi gets late on the brakes all the way over the curb and then starts to accelerate out, I think he's actually got quite a good exit. Actually, so we'll definitely get the toe going towards the hairpin, and we may see a move on here from Stuart French then in the Audi, coming down the straight then, and definitely in the toe. Matt Goodger-Scott goes defensive. Stuart French goes to the outside. They draw side by side. They're going to be last of the late breakers through here. French is going to try and get the cut back, but doesn't manage to do so. They keep line astern, but it's very, very close between these three cars. And Sean King, in fact, in the green car just behind these two, is ready to pounce at any given moment and try and get his car back up into a podium position. So as we see the two Audis then chasing that very sleek looking Camsport Mercedes C-Class AMG. Into the stadium section they go, 12 minutes on the clock, and it's looking like Matt Goodger-Scott for the moment can fend off these two, but he's still got 12 minutes to do it. It's going to be a long old slog towards the end of the race. It's probably going to be the longest 10 minutes of his life as it goes through the final two corners then. And John Curry's got that gap out to nearly 10 seconds. He's absolutely flying out there, is John Curry. And these three scrapping away then, this is costing them time, and John Curry almost definitely has the win under his belt now.
Fair play to him as well. He did get extremely lucky earlier in the race, but he's obviously
someone
managing.
might as well just given him the trophy and gone, there you go, mate.
Yeah, but he's drove so well since then.
Absolutely.
Like, he's looked after the tyres, his pace has been consistent, he's not made any mistakes, which can't be said for a lot of the other drivers on circuit. These are difficult cars to drive in a long race without making any errors. And look at this. We're on the outside for French into the hairpin. Matt's going to have the inside line, but the cutback French. But look at Sean up the inside. Just really intelligent position in his car. Is he going to be alongside? No, just about. He might think about an attack into the next left-hander here. Yeah, he thinks a bit better of it.
Luke's trying to go around the... No, he just didn't manage to do so, but really good respect from all three drivers. And as we were just saying about John Curry, we rarely see John McCurry make a mistake anyway, so I think he's pretty safe for the end of this race. He's a very confident driver. Sean King, you don't want to make a move through there, mate, trust me, you really, really don't want to make a move through there. But he draws alongside, trying to go into Satch Curve, doesn't manage to do so. You can pretty much, if you're on the inside, hold the line all the way around because it's banked. So he gets away with it, but Sean King looking very, very racy at the moment.
Sean, no matter where he finishes, might be kicking himself at the end of this race because he definitely lost more than 10 seconds earlier. Could have been on for a race win.
He could have been on for a race win, but you've got to remember this is a good insight into who's going to be quick for the remainder of the year as well. Obviously, we've got more rounds coming up with this championship. It's not just a one evening event. We've got a whole round of races coming up throughout the end of this year and into next year as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see who comes out on top. I'm pretty sure that we're going to have a number of different winners throughout the series, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic to watch. So it's definitely worth keeping glued to this championship. But Sean King at the moment is looking like the man in contention to try and get that podium place. He tries to dive for Stuart French's inside line, but he's just covered off for the moment, and they all seem to be pretty much line astern as they come out of the hairpin. 9 minutes on the clock, and in the background we can see our two leaders from the previous race, Jessup and Bennett, in fact. Oh no, Bennett, sorry, was actually made it into well, he qualified second, so he was actually really far up in qualifying, so he wasn't in the first race, but Joe Jessup just in front of him in the BMW was. And I think Jessup's going to be very, very happy with his performance today. Second place in race 1 and now holding on to a top 5 in race 2. Very impressive indeed.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal performance, especially with the class of the field that we've got here. Bennett's had a hell of a comeback himself in this race. He's not far off of the top 4 himself, so if he could get past Jessup relatively quickly, he might get onto the back of these guys. I mean, his fastest lap is a 1:32.5, which is absolutely rapid.
Obviously, I think he had a drive through at the start of the race as well, thanks to that jump start and came into the pit lane. We're still on for the battle for second place. These guys are absolutely glued together at the moment as they come down. Stuart French is going to try and have a look into turn 3, doesn't manage to do so. Matt Goodger-Scott is there to try and capitalise on that as well, as we'll stick with this top 3 then as they come through onto the straight again, and it's going to be Sean King with the monster of toes as he's got one car getting a toe ahead of him and then him getting the toe himself. He's going to be pretty much on the limiter as he comes down to the hairpin. You can see John Curry on the right hand side all the way off in the distance. He's 10 seconds up the road now, and these 3 are still squabbling away. It's Matt Goodger-Scott. Sean King making move up the inside. He was well up the inside, to be fair to him, and Stuart French left the door open. Matt Goodger-Scott there, it was side by side, but I'd say that's almost a fair move, to be fair.
I would say that's bang on move. Sean's positioning in that hairpin has been perfect every lap. He's always found a way to put the car in just the right place so he can capitalise on something just like that. And that is racecraft of a very talented driver. Let's see what he can do about Matt.
Now, you've got to remember these 2 are teammates as well, so I personally, I think Matt is the quicker driver in this. However, he's on the older tyres, so is Sean King now going to settle for 3rd place and just make sure that Stuart French doesn't try and attack Matt Goodger-Scott and secure that 2-3 position? Or is he going to try and just say, oh, sorry, Matt's got older tyres, I haven't, I'm going to go for top 2 position?
I think Sean's got something to prove here as well, and I think he'll just forget about the fact that they drive for the same team for the next 6 minutes. I do. I think he's going to drive against Matt exactly the same way he would against any other competitor.
Okay, then we'll find out. It will be an absolute disaster if the 2 Camsport cars come together, because they have been in similar positions before and unfortunately they've thrown it away at some stages. But we've got a battle on here for 5th place. This is Luke Bennett and Joe Jessup, then the BMW and the Audi toe-to-toe coming down towards the hairpin, and you can see Sean King just as well trying to have a look at Matt Goodger-Scott, his teammate, as we were talking about in a moment. Joe Jessup then trying to get back on the power and accelerating out and managed to do so, but Luke Bennett has got a great exit out of that hairpin. He's going to be very, very close to him coming down into turn 8. They come through the flat right-hand corner. Bennett moves out to the left-hand side, makes his intentions known. Jessup gives him room. There's a bit of door banging and a bit of wheel banging, and they seem to get through okay. Bennett's going to try and get the switch back onto the right-hander, but Jessup seems to have the momentum and covers him off. They're going to be, has he got a nose up in front? I think he has. So Bennett goes up the inside, good lunge, and strong move into that corner, and that's the job done. So well done to him. That was a fantastic battle from those 2 guys, and Bennett moves up into 5th place. So fair play from both those drivers. Absolutely fantastic racing. Now then, let's see, with 5 minutes to go, who's going to finish just off the podium then. This is the battle for it, and at the moment Stuart French is just about half a second off a podium place. Sport boys both in those top, well, the 2nd and 3rd positions and looking pretty strong, but it seems like Matt Goodger-Scott is starting to struggle with his tyres somewhat, but it seems that Sean King isn't that much faster now, to be fair, and they all seem to be pretty much managing their tyres towards the end of the race.
Interesting how that overtake on Stewart seemed to have woken him up a little bit as well, because the next lap he was just all over Sean. But I think this is far from over. With Matt's tyres being the worst of the 3, you can really see under braking how much these 2 cars are gaining on him. 4 minutes, it's going to feel like a very long time for Matt with these 2 behind.
4 years with these 2 behind, yeah. He's going to be, well, providing that it finishes the way he is, I think Matt Goodger-Scott is going to be absolutely thrilled with the result. But you've got to remember, he did lead at the start and then got taken out, and that allowed John Curry to come through and potentially take the lead. Well, did take the lead and potentially the win of this race. So I think there's going to be a few questions asked of especially his teammate, Christian Kelly, about what he was doing to take out his teammate from the lead of the race. It was a bit of a Coulthard Hakkinen kind of move into the hairpin, and unfortunately it just didn't work out, and took Jack Ashton out in the process, who unfortunately has DNF'd and probably gone home and is having his dinner at the moment, and he'll be back racing his own MX5 series on Tuesday night as well, so have a look out for Jack Ashton's Facebook page for that. So then, 3.5 minutes on the clock. This is going to be the penultimate lap of the race. I don't know what the next from penultimate is. Third to go, pretty much. Third lap. 3 laps of racing left then, and Sean King is just holding off Stuart French for the moment, and it's been a fantastic drive after a few calamities at the start, as pretty much, I wouldn't say that always is, but sometimes there always is in the Simply Race DTM Championship. We've seen some fantastic racing throughout the day, to be fair. It's been absolutely brilliant to see how close these guys are, and so many people so close in qualifying as well. So and don't rule out either Luke Bennett, who started on second place, had a penalty for a jump start, and unfortunately dropped all the way back down to, I think it was 12th or 13th place. He's made his way up back into the top 5, and potentially, if he's got the tyres in him, he might be running out of laps, to be fair, but if he can try and get on the back of this train, he might be looking at a top 4 finish. But at the moment, it's looking slightly unlikely as they come through and onto the brakes into Satch Curve, and that Audi is getting ever so slightly closer to the rear of that Mercedes, both running these two cars for the same team. Let's see if they can just contain themselves for the next 2 minutes or so. And this will be going on to the penultimate lap. So now it's still John Curry that leads out in front from Matt Goodger-Scott and Stuart French. There's a 12-second gap from John Curry, so John's been pretty good. But now we've got Stuart French coming back for that third place. And Sean King was a bit slow off turn 1, and now that's been able to allow Stuart French to get back up the inside into that third place. And Sean is not going to let this go easily. He throws it back to the inside and tries to take that place back, but he doesn't manage to do so. He's now got a long run down to the hairpin. He's got a mega run coming out of that last corner because of the line, and he's allowed to sprint all the way down to the hairpin. Let's see if these two don't make contact. They're going to be very tight into the hairpin. Sean King goes deep, so does Stuart French. They're very, very close together. They pretty much run off the road of each other, and look who's going to capitalise now. It's going to be Luke Bennett, who's going to potentially go into that third place, and Sean King is not very happy with himself. I can hear him in the background, and he's down into 5th place. He's going to have to fight now with Luke Bennett to try and get back up into that podium position, but he's got Stuart French to deal with as well. French was opportunistic into turn 1. Went to turn 2, sorry, and got that move done. Unfortunately for Sean King, he's getting all over the curb, and unfortunately for him, he's just not done very well there. Unfortunately, we just lost the stream ever so slightly. He's come back now. Sean King all over the grass and turning in very, very close together. And unfortunately then, it looks like Sean King has just lost himself a podium place. In one lap, he's gone from 3rd to 5th as we're coming on to the final lap of the race. We've got John Curry. We haven't seen a lot of John, to be fair, but he's been absolutely metronomic in this race, and was lucky. We got to say he was lucky with that contact. All 3 leaders went out. He went from 4th to 3rd in one hairpin corner. Well, 4th to 1st, sorry, in one hairpin corner. But you know, sometimes you do get a bit of luck, and today John Curry has had all the luck that he can get, and he's going to take a very commanding victory. And let's just see if we can try and catch the guys in the back of shot as well, because it's quite still close for 3rd and 4th. But no, it looks like Matt Goodger-Scott is going to hang on to that 2nd place with Stuart French in 3rd, and then Sean King, look, he's all the way back in 5th place now. So Luke Bennett, ever the opportunist, is up into 4th place. So after having a bit of a nightmare start with a jump start, he was in 2nd place, took the penalty, and now unfortunately it's just going to miss out on that podium spot, it seems. So then as these guys make it through the last couple of corners, we'll keep an eye out for our race leader to make sure we watch him across the line, because it has been absolutely fantastic to see how dominant he has been. John Curry then through the last couple of corners, and this is going to be a very, very well-deserved win. He's raced in the Simple Race Touring Car Championship. He's won in the Clio Cup Championship. He's done the Endurance Championship as well, and now it's a win in the DTM Championship for John Curry as he crosses the line. A fantastic race for him, and he's absolutely ecstatic about that. He'll be very happy indeed. So well done to John, and we might even get some donuts at this rate. And Matt Goodger-Scott then coming home in second place. He's going to be happy with that. And Luke Bennett, it says actually in third. So what happened to? Oh no, they're all dropping down the order still, so it's okay. So it looked like potentially Bennett then got third position on the line. I'm pretty sure we'll have to check that, but from my reckoning it's still potentially Sean King that's... Oh no, so Sean King did finish off the podium. Okay, so what happened to French then? Did French drop back down the order in the last few corners?
Him drop. It looked like
it's still on our screen here, but we played it live, but it looked like it came across the line. Actually, we can potentially watch it on this last bit here. But well done to John Curry then. A fantastic win from him, and very, very happy indeed. So he'll be absolutely thrilled with that. We've got cars all over the track kind of thing, just doing donuts. And did he crash at the hairpin indeed? So let's have a look then. I'm just having a look on my replay. So yeah, so French then did actually go off at the hairpin. So Bennett then, luckily, oh that's so unfair. Unfortunately, Sean King then does get his fourth place just off the podium, but French all the way down in eighth after literally being just about on the podium, unfortunately drops back down. But our winner is John Curry then. Matt Goodger-Scott in second place with Luke Bennett rounding out the podium after a unfortunate start. He gets his podium in third place. Sean King just off the podium in fourth. He'll be annoyed, but still quite impressed with that. Joe Jessup, a very impressive fifth place after coming through from the B race into the A race, coming fifth with Francis Harold, our pole sitter, in sixth. Christian Kelly, an eventful race in seventh place with Stuart French, just missing out on that podium on the last lap and throwing it all away, came home in eighth. Bill Watts in ninth, great to have him first time here at Simply Race and showing us how it's done. And then Ben Brown in 10th. We've got Luke Austin in 11th, Bittencourt in 12th, Avram in 13th, Colin Talbot in 14th, and Jack Ashton DNFing in 15th.
Yeah, really good race, really good race. Unfortunately, I was going to say that move that French pulled off, you could see, I don't know if you were watching, the last lap before, he tried braking really, really late in some of the corners, and I think he was setting up that move. And I think that bit him on the final lap. I think he just tried it just that little bit too late, and that's what cost him that podium position. Massive shame on the final.
It's a massive shame, yeah. So very unfortunate. Do stick with us. We're going to be presenting the drivers with the podium trophies very, very soon, so do stick around for that. But thank you very much for joining us for the first round of the Simply Race DTM Championship, and we'll be presenting the drivers with their trophies very, very soon.
So just a little bit of news from me while we're waiting to go to the podium. There is a little delay as we're trying to figure out the actual top three. There was a bit of an incident that happened on the final lap, so we're just going to clarify the top three and then we'll very shortly go to the podium. Just give us a few minutes and we'll be getting that underway.
All right, so thanks everyone for coming down. Start this off quite quickly. In third place was Stuart French. And place was Matt Goodger. And the winner was John. There you go. It's because he was a bit in front of you. All right. Well, how do you find it?
Hard work. I spent a race defending, and I was kind of lucky to stay at the front, to be honest. I think, to be honest, with my pace.
Your thoughts, Stuart?
Matt is like, I don't know how you kept that like straight, mate. I couldn't find a way past Matt for the last half the race, so nice work.
And really good drive from you, John. Spent a lot of time at the front, and pretty lucky with the incident halfway through. Any more thoughts on that?
No, not really. It was one of those races where I think the first 7 of us were all quite similar on pace, and it was one of those races that just became very attritional. And for once this time, I sort of kept my nose clean. And it was lap, whenever it was up 7 or 8, when it all kicked up at the hairpin. I think that's the lap when the tyres just drop off, and all of a sudden you end up having to brake a lot earlier for some of the corners. And yeah, they all fell over each other at the hairpin, and I got the lead, and then fell off at the next 2 corners because, like I say, because of the way the tyres had gone. And then after that, I just calmed down and just tried to pace myself and brought it home. But I was pleased. Like I say, I was invited to do this by Francis because one of his mates dropped out, and he very kindly made a livery for me, which I thought looks pretty cool. So